Hello, howdy, salutations. Welcome to the Tetracast, episode 384, bright and early at the beginning of March 2025. Already, we're at March. This week, it's the big one, the one that a lot of RPG fans have been talking about for quite a while since its unveiling. Yes, this is the podcast episode where we're going to talk about a shitload of Monster Hunter Wilds by Capcom. Joining me, we have quite a crew. I am your substitute host, Josh Torres. Brian couldn't make it today. He has some personal stuff going on, I think, this week and next week as well. So you're stuck with me for a bit. I apologize. Joining me, we have Adam Vitali,
Hello.
James Galizio,
Hey, folks.
Chao Min Wu,
How's it going?
and then joining us once again, Mikhail Manani.
Hello.
And joining us for this special episode, we have Cullen Black.
Like Robin Williams in Aladdin 3, I am back.
There you go. Fellas, a lot of us here have had some amount of time with Monster Hunter Wilds. It's me, James, who reviewed it. Mikhail and I, who have been doing guides. Cullen, you're doing guides as well, so you got to play a good chunk of it. Chow, you have some stuff to say about Wilds on your end, and Adam here is the shadow recorder. He's like, I don't care about Monster Hunter. I'm here to just record the podcast.
I downloaded
We thank you for that.
I downloaded the remaster for Monster Hunter Stories last night.
There you go.
Oh yeah,
Nice.
Monster
Yeah,
Hunter
my
Stories.
experience
represents-
something. DreamWork makes teamwork. I'm sorry, fuck the other
Dreamwork
way
makes
around.
Teamwork. I like that instead.
Yeah,
Okay.
my experience is like I just downloaded this game, I booted it up, and it was compiling shaders. It took way too long, so I just closed it. I was like, I'll play Grand Blue Rising because they had the new DLCs up. So
So yeah, there's a
sorry,
lot. There's a lot to talk about with this game. There's the good, the mid, the bad, and the ugly. So I guess we'll just start it right off with James here because he's the one who spearheaded the game with the review. James, what do you think about Monster Hunter Wilds?
I think that it's kind of another example of what Capcom's been doing across a bunch of their games lately, where it doesn't seem like the game is fully completed for launch. Like I wasn't sure how to feel 100% until they announced, like, after like the reviews went live, that's like, yeah, we're adding in the Gathering Hub in April, and it's like, yeah, that explains a lot.
Yeah, that's one of those things that's like, I was thinking, oh, it's like a conscious choice to not include that. This is fine. And then I saw them announce, I'm like, oh, this came out undercooked a little bit, huh?
Yeah, that was pretty much exactly how I was feeling too. The game's not, for whatever reason, has even less monsters than World did at launch, which that made sense for World because it was like a totally new paradigm and they had to adjust all the monsters for HD and whatnot. They've already done that now. And like, they've gotten like, this isn't the first Monster Hunter on RE Engine, so it's like, okay, it's not that. But I still do enjoy the game. I think there's a bunch of issues. As I said in my review, it is inexcusable that they're like still being like stubborn about the way that multiplayer works in the game. I think that's really my main takeaway, is that I really do like this game, but if you're a Monster Hunter fan, you're already kind of used to it, where the real game that you're looking forward to isn't going to be out until a year and a half later with the expansion. But that doesn't really make the fact that, I don't know, it's kind of hard to I'm sure everyone here that plays Monster Hunter knows what I'm saying, because I don't want to say that the game isn't good, because it is, but like I said in my review, some of the issues with the game come down to the fact that it just feels like it's deliberately waiting
Holding
for the
back.
expansion. Yeah.
Yeah, I would
Yeah, I
say
agree.
I think it is a fine game. I think there's a lot of strange decisions around a lot of it. But yeah, like you said, it's not a bad game. It's like, I think it's a solid entry. It's not my favorite. There's quite a bit of strange decisions that I'll get into in a bit. But
Yeah.
before me, I'd like to hear Cullen. What do you think? Is that this isn't your first Monster Hunter, right?
No, I've been playing since 3 Ultimate.
Okay, cool.
I I really like those older era of Monster Hunter games a lot, but I started to really enjoy the series around like I always really enjoyed them, but like Generation Ultimate is kind of my like pinnacle Monster Hunter. And then in terms of just game feel, I love Rise. Like that's probably my favorite Monster Hunter to play. So I thought this would be closer to like a middle ground between Rise and World, which I didn't really care for too much. Um, it's not. It's very much like World in a lot of ways, and some of the spots I don't really care for, like the over reliance on story, things like that. But I will say, to play the video game, like it is a really complicated one to talk about because playing the game in the act of actually hunting the monsters, it's a ton of fun. It's a very fun game. It's just I kept finding little things throughout playing where I was like, "That's annoying. Why are we doing this?" Like it's so hard to talk about because I feel like and just from like discussion online, it's like if you mention certain things about this, it just you come off as like a huge elitist, but it's just like no, we used to have it better.
It's one of those things like it's a historic thing with Monster Hunter where like if you say it's too easy, where it's like well everyone always says the newest Monster Hunter is too easy, and then they give this long chain of like people complain about this being too easy, etc. etc. Then like and it's always taken to the extreme, right? When you say like one little thing you nitpick, it's like well back then it was like this, or if you don't like this back then etc. So it's
It's
I
like
get
We
it.
had to pull
It's like
weeds
when I
from the
was talking
ground.
on the
The hunter
podcast,
ain't
like
fun.
over a year ago, where I was kind of lamenting how it's like I kind of liked when Freedom Unite didn't show you when you were on a gathering point. You just had to know, and it's like that's obviously something. If you didn't play Monster Hunter on the PSP, that makes you sound like an insane person because you are an insane person. But it's still it's
Yeah,
one of those
yeah.
things.
Mikhail, you and I got a chance to play together pre-release, and I know you've been playing a ton of this.
Yeah.
Just initial impressions on this game and where do you land on it?
So, yeah, like let's bring up why we decided to play together besides just testing the online. So, when the beta happened, they had this they were like talking about how you can have 100 people in a lobby, and I think when anyone tried to play the beta and you saw tons of people around you, the performance was even worse than it was normally in the beta. So that felt like a mistake. But when I was gonna play with you, I said we should do this because it's so confusing to just figure out how to play with friends because they've added, I think, 4 or 5 different ways you can group up with people, but the naming is different to what people are used to with Monster Hunter. Like there's no gathering hub, right? So I thought that was just they don't want to use the same terminology again, and they want people to be in squads or they want people to be in this link, which is like when you're in the same session together. I thought links were going to be the gathering hub because suppose like 4 of us are in a link right now and someone posts a quest, everyone who's in that link gets an invite to the quest. And I thought, okay, that's pretty convenient. Then they had this thing called environment link, which is you are actually physically in the same session and you can go and hunt on the same map together. So I thought, okay, that's another thing. But then you still have lobbies and stuff. So I just told Josh that, like, let's test this out because I need to understand exactly how this works. Because we had access to multiplayer servers for most of the review period, but they did go down, uh, like, when review embargo lifted for a few days until I think a day before launch. So yeah, the online is definitely the weakest part because everyone who I play with has now understood it, but we shouldn't be doing this where we spend an hour just telling people this is what you need to join, here's my code, but don't input my code in this menu, input it in the other menu because they all look the same. So that was not a good initial impression.
It's one of those things that like 98% of people who want to play this game with their friends will Google how do I play
Yep,
multiplayer
yep.
in this game, because
And then you
it's
get to
definitely
the
it's not a great it doesn't really
yeah.
it's not self-explanatory at all in
Yeah.
the way that it presents it. Yeah.
And then the thing about, so I think James started playing it a few days before we did, and when he told me that the story mode was better integrated or it felt better than World and Rise. So like World has its issues with its story. I did not care about the Zora Madgaros thing at all. That felt like a complete waste of time. Rise, I honestly like the more I think about 1.0 Rise, the less I like it. Even though Sunbreak is, I adore Sunbreak, but so when this happened, the more I played it, yes, the walk and talk thing was super annoying, and I wish they, like, I don't know if they can even patch that out or let you skip that in a way. Letting you skip it would be good, but I thought the story was nice. But the problem is, when you have a story in a Monster Hunter game, people like taking breaks from the story and just hunting with their friends and doing optional stuff. You're not playing this for the story. There's clearly like I'm sure there were heads butting in between Capcom, like when they decided how to go with this, but they said no, we got to make people play the story. And so you have like this mishmash of a forced story cinematic thing, but you also let people call their friends to play or to help them. But then they also have SOS, like NPC hunters who can also come in and help you. So it feels like they didn't go all the way with what they wanted to with the story. And I feel like if they had, made it a completely forced cinematic single player thing and kept it like how you had Village and Hub in the old games, there would be maybe one third as many complaints about it as there are now. That's how I view it. The fact that you're forcing people, a lot of whom who've played the prior games, who probably, I'm sure many people never even bothered with Village, because I know people who have not touched that at all in Monster Hunter Rise. They just get into the online and start playing with their friends. You cannot do that over here. So, I think I saw Alex post about how Monster Hunter Wilds is like the new Final Fantasy 13, where it gets better after 10 hours, but this one's actually good, or something like that, he said on Blue Sky. So it's kind of unfortunate that you're forced into that for the people who don't care about it, because for lore implications and like, especially if you played Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, I'd say, like, in for that they did a really good job with the story and what's going to happen next. But there's like some part of the audience does not like that at all. And then when you have a system for multiplayer, which is more annoying than Monster Hunter World, which was, I'm pretty sure that was the major complaint everyone had for World. You can't
It
skip the
was,
cutscenes,
yeah.
you can't play easily. And they've just doubled down on that. So that's unfortunate, because at least as far as I'm concerned, this is the best 1.0 Monster Hunter base to build on. And this is the most I've put into any launch Monster Hunter game. Like, since I think I've played I got into it with 4U, but then I also played 3U, and I played everything since on every platform. So this is the most I've put into it. I think I'm at like 190 hours now across my saves. So I've never put in that much time into a base release before. So there is something there which has hooked me. But yeah, I like absolutely agree with almost everything you said in your review. So that's definitely like we'll see what happens, right? We're getting our first update, which they also announced, which we'll cover when we talk about the news. But yeah, the first update is like just a month or so away. So yeah,
Okay,
that's where
so
I'm at right now.
yeah, that was a lot, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of points to dig through there because massive game, a massive amount of like problems, but also there's like a lot of good stuff to it. So like everyone has said here, it's like there's an extremely difficult game to talk about. So let's talk about one of the key points that like you presented, Mikhail, and I know everyone in
Okay.
here will have their own opinions on it. Is the forced story on this, like the low rank experience, and it being a very railroaded cinematic experience. There's a lot of it changes they've introduced here where like your main character actually talks now. They're an active participant in conversations and like how the story, it's a very amusement park sort of ride where they'll introduce the desert region and like kind of the basic problems within the desert region. You get introduced to that stuff, but then you move on to the next region, get introduced there to that stuff, and it's basically like they introduce new regions fast, but you eventually come back to each of those regions to sort of build up to this apex monster that dwells in that region and a larger overall story of like trying to get this young boy named Nata back to his people, known as the Keepers. So you're trying to find out where the Keepers are and try to get Nata back home. So just in general, like you guys can talk about it. Like, what were like kind of your basic like takeaways of like, hey, do you feel like you're really being dragged down? Um, as you're progressing through the story, were you fine with it? Like, I know there's like a lot of sequences where there's like, hey, here's a long cutscene, then it goes to like another cutscene where you can go to the next dialogue if you wanted to immediately. Then there'll be like another sequence where you have to like slow walk through the region when it's like introducing you to that region, and then it might go to another cutscene, and that's basically a lot of people when they first play this game, they feel like, hey, it's been 2 hours. Like the first 2 hours, and I've barely only gotten 2 to 3 hunts. Like, what's going on? You know. So, how do you guys kind of feel about like this? You know, world isn't like absolved of this, but just because it's been done before doesn't mean they, you know, it doesn't really dismiss it. I'd say.
Yeah, I just think that, like you said, World did do it before, and for my money, I feel like this was a better. Like it still wasn't great, but it was a better implementation of it than what World tried.
Mhm.
It still has all the issues that I like talked about in my review, where it really is just frustrating as hell trying to do multiplayer, and it's shouldn't be this way because and I don't even know if I specifically said in my review, but multiplayer is the whole reason that Monster Hunter even is a thing. And the fact that if you want to go through the main story of this Monster Hunter game with your friends, it's actively fighting you every step of the way is like, what are we doing here?
That's kind of like the like one of the unique things about Monster Hunter as like as a franchise too. It's a very like it got popular, as you said, especially like in Japan because they had like that ad hoc multiplayer on handhelds where it really exploded in that era when it was on PSP, and like it only got more popular as online was integrated. So like multiplayer is kind of like one of the core features that really defined the series, and people like playing the Monster Hunter games. They like when you can actually go out and hunt and play the game. So Capcom leaning more and more into like no, you must witness this story, and like and a lot of people are just like, hey man, I really like hunting the monsters. Hunting the monsters is fun. Why won't you let me just like play the video game? Why are you letting me? Why are you making me go through this? And that's kind of the weird thing about monsters. Like I think a lot of the player base feels this way of like we're like yes, it's not like there shouldn't be a story in Monster Hunter. Like I think a lot of people have come to maybe it's just like recency bias or whatever. Where like they feel like for the problems that Rise had, they felt like at least the story integration in Rise felt like a good balance between like hey having your story and allowing you to like play the game like um the in between hunt sessions
I
felt
don't know, the way you
less
describe this, it sounds like a Metroid Other Elm. It's like, why won't you just let me play the game? I have to watch like this terrible plot unfolding.
interesting comparison, but you're not wrong. um but yeah, and so that's where I kind of come down on it. Where like I look, man, I don't think the story. I don't think the story is great. I don't think it's like absolutely awful. I'm very neutral on it. I don't really particularly care for Nata's journey. I know some people might disagree, and that's fine. But I feel like Nata is just like I don't really care. I don't really care about this kid by the end. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, sure.
I didn't
You
care
know?
either. I do think the presentation of the story is much improved. That like one thing that's undeniable is the cutscenes, even if you have to watch them still are just way better. And I guess technically you don't have to watch them because you can skip them now, but it's like at least it felt like they actually tried with the presentation this time, whereas with World it didn't really feel that way. It felt like they felt with World it felt like they seemed like to think that they needed to, and then they put like almost like the bare minimum in. And that's not the feeling I got with Wilds. It's like Wilds love or hate the story. You can tell that it was purely their decision, for better or
Yeah,
worse.
yeah. They you can tell that like they really doubled down on like wanting to try like up the presentation of the story. Like it was cool, having like the meals like integrated into it. But now it's just weird that like at its current state, without the gathering hub, that like the only time you can really gather around with other people, well, not with your friends, but with other people, you sit down and take a meal with them.
I
Um,
know I felt really bad skipping all the beautiful cutscenes by the end, but it was also really funny to start a cutscene, immediately skip it, and get like jump scared by a monster. And that's kind of how I played the entire second half of the game.
okay, so who actually here actually like watched the story and didn't skip a cutscene at all?
I
Me.
didn't skip any cutscene. Yeah.
Okay, I decided
I
I
mean,
wouldn't. I decided I wouldn't. I thought about it for a hot second. I was like, I was like, I'll try my best. I'll try to meet you halfway, Capcom. I don't think I got my I don't think it really worked out for me. But
Yeah,
but
would you lose your credibility as a reviewer if you skip all the story and just
well,
tell them that the
I
story
mean,
sucked?
I mean, I'm not reviewing it. I mean,
I know, but just saying,
If James said that he did, then we kind of have maybe a problem. But,
Hey,
but-
as long as you say I could not stand this, so I skipped it, and that's your review, that's fine with
but
me.
what if the story is god awful? It's like it's like imagine like you're playing Xenoblade Chronicles or was it, I
Valkyria
mean, Valkyria
Revolution.
Revolution, and you're
Uh-huh.
forced to watch all these story cutscenes. But this one reviewer skipped it, said it was garbage, so I skipped it all.
I don't like that this is the third mention of Valkyria Revolution this year, and two of that is because of this
Yeah, I know I've said
community.
this before that this is the game that I skipped cutscenes in, so that's probably why it was on his mind.
I did think it was funny because like James was helping me through the end game of like low rank,
Mhm.
and he kept going like, "Yeah, man, isn't this cutscene really good?" I was like, "I don't know, I like join, I skipped it." He was like, "No, man, that the cutscene was really cool. No, stop." Well, I was doing like the final boss. I was like, "This boss is really cool. I wish I knew how it got here." I've kind of decided it's just like I'm not gonna comment on the like because I acknowledge that I skipped a lot of the
Mhm.
story cutscenes. I'm not gonna have an opinion on it
How
because
do you,
it's like
okay, the one thing you couldn't skip was the forced walking. How did you feel about the
Oh.
forced walking?
terrible, awful.
Yeah.
Don't do that again.
You know, the worst part about that was when you get to the Scarlet Forest and when they don't even let you just walk like 5 steps to the left. They say, "Oh no, let's meet up over
Mhm.
here and stuff." That reminded me of, I think it was Watch Dogs 2 or something, when I was playing it and I was like, okay, I got my car, listening to the radio, let me drive. Leaving mission area, red warning symbols. I was like, no, don't ever do that to me in these kinds of games. That really annoyed me. But I think what James said, it kind of holds true because World was like this first HD thing they were doing, and they probably, I don't know how much budget they had for that, but they clearly didn't have enough. But then you saw that in Rise as well, because what was Rise's story? It just had the what is it called? Those small intro cutscenes for each monster, and you go and hunt them. And I think there was like maybe 2 or 3 outside that. But then Sunbreak, you saw them actually put effort into the cutscenes and the story again. Because I think when you had like mocap and stuff when you were interacting with Malzeno and stuff for the first time. So Sunbreak was like this huge upgrade over Rise. And I think Wilds is kind of that over I wouldn't say over Iceborne, because you remember the Rajang cutscene in Iceborne was like fantastic, like unbelievable stuff for the franchise, at least to me. So I think,
I
yeah, they
kind
did
of
put in the effort here. But
I kind of wish that like they were able to find a nice middle ground, or at least
yep.
like how, because like how they presented like the story, because there's still a little bit more story after the credits, like with the HR stuff. But it's very freeform. Like they kind of let you play the game a lot more after you go through the credits. And hey, here's high rank. They kind of introduce some basic, like, here, if you don't know how to capture a monster, here's how you capture a monster. But a lot of the objectives throughout high rank is, hey, reach this HR threshold. Just keep on hunting and reach the HR. Once you reach like a certain HR threshold, the next story thing that happens will open up for you. But it's not like a lot of, there's not really like long cutscenes in that until like the very end of HR. It's like very simple dialogue exchanges that you can go to skip to the next line. So if you're a fast reader, you can get a gist of what's going on. Very very fast in those exchanges. But a lot of HR progression is just like, hey, go hunt monsters at your own pace. Progress how you want. If you see monsters on the field, go hunt it. Do whatever you want basically. Until you reach a certain HR threshold. Then if you want to reach like the next like more powerful monsters in HR, then go and do this next story milestone. I'm like, man, if this was like how they let you do it in low rank, that'd be awesome. I don't know how they do it because of the way that like they obviously introduce everything in a very slow manner, in a very cinematic manner. But for me, I was just like, I kind of wish this was just like the whole game, like in terms of like just how you present the story until you get the post game.
I think
Um,
that would get people to actually craft low rank armor, because I don't think anyone bothered with that. And in fact, I just tell all of my friends who are playing it, just play the low rank and craft whatever you can for your raw stats. Don't
I think
bother with fashion. Don't bother with
that
anything else until you reach high rank.
I mean that's a historic Monster Hunter problem when like no matter what, like even in base world, base rise, base older titles, if you know how Monster Hunter works, between nothing really matters in
Yeah.
low rank. You don't care about low rank pretty much. Like the only time you ever care about low rank is if like a monster's kicking your ass and you feel like there's a huge wall in front of you that like you can't overcome until you got better stats. It's the only time you care about low rank equipment. But I think it's just one of those things. It's like it is a problem, but it's also not a new problem. That's the hard part about it. Like it's like Generations Ultimate when G/Master Rank is already in the game, because G/Master Rank is already in that title. You don't really care what you're making for low and high rank in those games until you get into a wall. So if you like say this high rank Rathalos is kicking your ass, you only care about high rank armor in that game until you overcome that, and then you get into G/Master Rank in that game, and that's when you actually start caring about your equipment. So it's one of those things like as long as you always know there's a tier above it, you won't care about the lower tiers because those aren't like what you're going to be sticking with. It's more out of necessity more so than genuine
I
wanting
think
to explore.
because the story was just low rank this time versus having anything of, I mean, when I say just low rank, it's because you see the credits roll and then you essentially get to high rank. But because of that, I saw these weird comparisons where people have been saying Wilds has more content than World, but is one fourth the length. And I was trying to figure out why someone would say something like this. And it turns out, if you look at how long to beat, World is about 48 hours or 46 hours. And everyone was beating Wild's low rank in about 12 or 13 hours. And I'm like, were people actually just equating it like that? That was so weird.
I mean, to be fair, like the way that World worked is that you didn't actually hit the proper credits until high rank with Xenojiva, but there is no like Xenojiva equivalent in like Wilds at launch because well, I guess there is, but it's at the end of low rank instead of the end of high rank. There's like no penultimate monster at the end of high rank in Wilds, which is honestly kind of frustrating. I was hoping there would be.
Yeah, like I was expecting like to see at least like one Elder Dragon in the game. I was like, "Where's the Elder Dragon?
I mean, there is
Is,
technically
is there?"
the final boss of low rank is an Elder
Oh,
Dragon.
I guess like, but it's like it's a one-time fight also until they
Yeah,
reintroduce it into a title update.
yeah.
So yeah, so I
I
think
think
it's
it
just
is the
what
best. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm just thinking like I don't have much more to offer on that thought. I just thought it was weird. Go for it,
It,
Mikhail.
it definitely is weird because you can't actually craft any gear out of it. You get drops from it, but you can't craft anything. But I think if you look at it as what a base game final boss is, I think it's the best one because Xenojiva was crap. Uh, what is the thing in it was Narva, right? For Rise, what is it? You just go into Dana's big hole. I think 10 people will get that reference, and it just ended over there for Rise 1.0. And
I would say
so yeah,
that despite my issues with Rise, I did think that Narwa was a really nice final boss, especially All Mother Narwa, which obviously was post game update. So
yeah,
there's
that was EU too. But yeah, the actual fight was interesting because they made us use the wire bug properly throughout the fight and stuff. But yeah, I think that was I just didn't like how that ended with just it just fell into this hole and that's it. Now you wait and your hunter rank is capped. Actually, that was might go off on a tangent over there, but that was like one of the most frustrating things for anyone who was playing Rise from day one, that you were just capped. Your hunter rank would never go up, and when they patched in hunter rank points
it
actually
wasn't
mattering,
retroactive. Yeah,
yeah, it wasn't retroactive. So like I think we had
Right.
played close to 100 hours pre-release and it just didn't matter. So you had to
yeah.
grind everything again to get. But over here, I'm at like HR 117 right now. So whatever they bring for the next few title
Now that
updates,
I
I think
think
I'm
about
set
it,
for.
Mikhail, like they did a
Yeah.
similar thing with Sunbreak where the actual in-game loop wasn't until title update 1. So is this just something that's standard and it's not even them like is it just what Monster Hunter is going to be from going forward? Is the expansion not going to be actually fucking ready until like title update 1 of the expansion?
I think it's just like that's one of the quote unquote live service or games as a service things where, like, I think the other thing which we need to remind ourselves and remind other people of is before Monster Hunter World, most people were playing the Monster Hunter with the expansion and all patches, everything ready from day one version. While, I mean, that's what happened on 3DS, right? 3U and then 4U and then
Generations came out.
Generations. Generations was the exception, but then they released that in this weird like I don't remember. I didn't end up playing much of Generations when it came out for some reason, but I did play a ton of 4U, and then I got 3U later. So yeah, that was again, like the PSP stuff was before I got into it, so I just played whatever was on Vita, and I think I played Freedom Unite on iOS for some reason quite a bit. So yeah, that was also again a fully patched version. It wasn't like now with World where like day one 1.0 with everyone else at the same time, and they want to make it a live service thing. We know the events are going to be limited time as well, as opposed to Rise, which was how it was in the older games. So this is like one of the downsides of being a live service or games as a service thing where they need to have stuff to make people keep coming back. It's unfortunate that it feels like, and in some ways, it kind of is cut content held back for updates.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
guys make good points on that. Okay. I think we got as much as we can. Like, the story is what it is in terms
Yeah.
of this.
Yeah.
But okay, so the main gimmick, I guess, in this game, in previous titles, like with Iceborne, you had the Clutch Claw, and Rise, you had Wirebug, and Wilds, you have this new wounds system, and wounds, as you beat up monsters and hit parts continuously, you create an open wounds, and then every weapon in the game has like their own unique focus attack that interacts with the wound system. For me personally, I kind of I think the wounds thing is a little bit overtuned, but it compared to like Clutch Claw and what Wirebugs eventually became in Sunbreak, and how much they relied on that. I think Wounds is it's not it doesn't really, what do you call this? Like,
I think with
it's
wounds,
not
I
as much
will.
of an obstacle to me than Clutch Claw and Wirebug late the game Wirebug stuff. Go for it, sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think that wounds are going to be a lot more well received once we actually get monsters that feel like they don't just fall over dead.
Yeah.
My thing with wounds as well is it's so easy to just get a monster like stunned in place for like a solid minute as you like pick away at its wounds very slowly so it can't even move. But also they're really cool animations, so it's hard to get like fully mad.
Also, me and my homies love power slashes and power clashes.
Yeah, the the power clashes are really cool as well.
They're really sick. I've only done a couple of them,
The
but it's
offset counters feel especially good because it's like, oh man, there was no blocking that. If I fucked up the timing, I was gonna eat shit.
I really like how the clashes feel like dynamic. It's I don't remember seeing like an explicit tutorial on them, so every time they've happened, it just felt like an organic like split second like clutch move, and every time it just makes me feel a bunch of adrenaline, and that's kind of what like this game at its absolute best has a lot of that. It just doesn't kind of hit that often enough, I think.
Yeah.
That's why I said in my review, it's like once we get the harder fights for what this game is, it's going to really come into its own. But right now, it's like just the barest foundation for what the game will eventually be.
Yeah, and the journey there, like you would wish it have some of that at the launch version instead of having to wait for it, which is kind of basically feeding back into what you and Mikhail were talking about earlier about it's like this life cycle now on Monster Hunter like being treated as like service titles, in that regard, which is kind of a bit of a shame. But in general, yeah, I think power clashes, wounds, like I think the wounds thing really, as you guys said, it kind of feels like you're bullying the monster at some point, especially when you know how to time like the wound staggers. Like right now, the early people early on are just popping the wounds too fast. So to the point that like, hey, we have to open up wounds again. But
I mean, it doesn't matter much if you're running part breaker because it makes wounds happen more often. So as long as everyone's running full part breaker, you can just pop them as soon as they come out, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So I really wonder what sort of like monsters they're gonna introduce down the line to really offset like the benefits that the players get in general for the wounds, and how they'll, I don't know if they'll try to address or combat that, or try to maybe make it harder on higher difficulty monsters that they've yet to release to make wounds. I'm not sure.
So here's one thing I want to say, just as an aside. So you know how Iceborne had Elatrion as a returning monster for like Gen 3 nostalgia, and Sunbreak had Amatsu as a returning monster for Gen 3 nostalgia.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, that means we're finally in Gen 4 nostalgia, which means that we're going to finally have Gogmazios come back as the endgame expansion final boss for like post game, like DLC and whatnot.
That'd be interesting. Thinking about it now. You know what? Maybe. So yeah, the only one we know for right now is Mizutsune. Is gonna be title update 1, and after that we have no idea. So yeah, could possibly. In terms of like new monsters, I think that the one of the big strengths of this game is they introduce a lot of new monsters and even a new skeleton in this game. They have
I love the octopus.
you like the octopus skeleton? Yeah. You have two octopus type enemies. You have the Nuudra and Shuwu in this, and I wonder if they're gonna introduce more octopus enemies down the line in title updates. But I think it's really an interesting skeleton because like this is the first new skeleton that we've had since what, James? You would remember better than I do.
Since probably Gen 4 when they had the snakes.
Yeah, was it Snakes really the last new skeleton? Wow, it's been a while.
Something like that.
Yeah. But I guess.
Well, actually, I guess if we're being technical, this might not be the first time they've used the octopus skeleton because of the final boss of Generations.
Can I just say
Oh.
though about those
Oh.
octopuses?
Yeah.
James was there when I first encountered it.
Mhm.
Terrifying, genuinely horrifying. I was like cool with it, whatever. I think it was the second octopus, but like when it does its like mouth
The
opening
teeth.
attack,
Oh yeah.
I was like, no.
Yeah,
I
the
can't do
animations for
this."
Shuwu are really good. And
I love how like they have Shuwu look like that, and also it's the first monster in like the monster in the series where there's like a deliberate quest that's like, yeah, this fucker eats people.
Yeah.
I will also say, I don't want to say like I'm arachnophobic or anything. I think bugs are gross. But
Yeah.
like you have to be cooking with some absolute gas if you have a monster like Lala Barina,
Marina.
and it's one of my favorite designs anyway
Wow.
because it's
okay.
like big spider. Oh god, but that rose thing is really cool. And as
Yeah.
it's really cool as well that like it gets more terrifying when it's on its last legs on high rank, and it just whips out some more like moves and gets even more like destroyed bit by bit.
Yeah, especially when you break the rose on its back too, like how withered it becomes when you break it, and that's a really cool effect on it.
There's a lot of really cool details on like the textures of the monsters as they get like damaged in battles.
Yeah.
Like
Oh right,
I might have issues with some of the textures in this game, which we could maybe talk about later.
We're gonna definitely get the optimization soon. Don't worry about
like
it.
monsters, like the designs of them and how they're brought over into this like next gen kind of Monster Hunter thing, they look fantastic.
Were you gonna say something, James?
I was just gonna say that's a great segue for performance and how this game looks
We-
for
we-
how it performs.
We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. Mikhail, I want to give you a chance as well on the new monsters. Like anything that stood out to you, any favorites out of the new monsters? Because there's quite a bit of them in here.
Yeah, I think this definitely has the best new monster roster addition since many years, since probably like I'd say 4 or something. I just love the new monsters. Even though Lala Barina is this pretty throwaway early monster, the armor's good, the design is good, fun fight, good in general. The octopus skeleton is very interesting, although the shoe I think is I think might be my favorite right now because I've been helping out a lot of people who are doing the story by just joining SOS as like a break from other stuff. And it's like the Shuvu is making sushi out of some of these new hunters. It's pretty hilarious. So that yeah, those are good. I think what surprised me more than the new monsters, because Capcom unfortunately just revealed most of the stuff in the trailers as usual, is the new animations for some of the old monsters, some of the new returning moves which they have from older games. And like Rathalos in general over here feels like the best it's ever been. I said that for Rise also, but yeah, it's just way better over here in general. The Guardian Rathalos is also super good. The new animations for the old moves are all nice. And yeah, we'll get to what the cost is of these animations, but in general, I just love the new. I love the visuals for the armor. We have like good armor sets, good weapons, not like how World was. So it's definitely an improvement on that front.
Yeah, there's
But
some interesting like deliberate decisions, like even like the standard Raytheon, like some of its moves are from the gold silver variants. That it does, like it borrows from its like higher tier variants, which is like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
I
Um,
think we also have a really good siege. Not a siege technically, but Jin the Had over here is kind of like one of those super huge monsters which you fight differently. And it has that supernova attack, which I don't know if it can kill you because when I did it, I had
It
pretty
can.
good gear. Oh, it can. Okay. So yeah, I haven't done that. And I used the Farcaster, which I think I completely forgot about with Monster Hunter Rise because with the dogs and with the wire bug, there's like no danger for a lot of things in that game. But over here, yeah, I needed to use a Farcaster to test something, and I was like, that takes me back to World because I used it quite a bit over there. So
yeah.
yeah. So I think that in general they have. I mean, we've said this before. It's a super solid base to build on, but we can't really predict how things will go until we see the scope of the first title update, which is coming in early April, where they've also said they're introducing. I think we need to be careful with their wording because a monster which is more challenging than tempered monsters, but I think they use the singular word, so we'll have to just see how things go. But for now, I love the new monsters. I love the armor, and some unfortunate decisions hold it back, which we will get to now.
So two things. One on Shuvu, but when I saw Shuvu, whenever I see Shuvu now, like I think of Chernobog from SMT for some reason. That's what the design reminds me of, is Chernobog from SMT. And I don't know if I'm just I feel crazy for thinking that, but I'm just like, yeah, it looks reminds me of Chernobog. Yeah. Second, one thing that Wilds like at least doesn't do, I guess, compared to World and Rise is like it doesn't have like the rampages or the get on top of like a big ass monsters, which is cool in on paper, but once you keep on doing it and again of like the sieges against a tremendous monster with the cannons to finally get up on its back and actually play the quote unquote level. It does. There's not really equivalents of that in Wilds, aside from like Jin the Had, but that's not really a gimmick fight. More so, it's just a huge monster with a lot of HP. It has like one gimmick attack to it. Other than that,
Jindahad is not a siege fight because I haven't seen a
yeah,
single person complain about it. Therefore, it can't be one.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. So it's not. Yeah, and we don't have the tower defense thing from Rise either. Uh, They they don't really have like those gimmick fights aside from like that one gimmick move from Jin the Had. Um, which I like that, like a lot of it is like, hey, it's a standard hunt, beat the shit out of the monster. It's like, all right, okay, I know that assignment, I can do that. Um, okay, I know we can't tiptoe around this any longer. This game released on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. And a lot of people are talking about the state of this game, the technical state of Monster Hunter Wilds. Yeah, obviously, a lot people have been talking about this ever since they released their first public open beta last year, and Capcom kept telling people, "Hey, it'll be in a much better state of the full release." Even in its second open beta, that second open beta didn't have any of the technical improvements that they introduced internally, and they said, "Hey, don't worry, the full release will be in a much better state." So here we are at the full release. There's a lot of talk about the optimization of this game. It's not looking good, even though there's like this high peak concurrent user on Steam and whatever. The Steam reviews paint an interesting picture. Obviously, we all have different setups here. Some have pretty awesome GigaChad setups, like a 5090 and a 9800X 3D combo. Some of us here have a 3080 and a 5950 whatever CPU. That's just me comparing my setup to James, because James has like a pretty crazy setup.
Didn't Cullen get a new CPU for this game?
Yeah,
Right,
I
so
did. I
go
dropped
for it, Cullen.
$900 during the review period to get a 9800 X3D, and I am also using a 3080. And it's funny how it can only like it can hit 60 FPS, but it won't make the game look any better.
So
Yeah.
let's talk about it. The launch date of Monster Hunter Wilds. What have you guys been experiencing? What have you guys been seeing on the internet from other people, whether it's your friends or other people who are playing this game?
My friends
So I
think
think
this
I should
game's
go first
unplayable.
because let's get Chow out of the way.
Hold on, Chow. What were you gonna say, Chow?
I was gonna say my friends say that this game is completely unplayable. They have very good spec PCs, and they're like, "Oh, I'm getting like 20 FPS on this scene, and blah 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 blah." It's like this is fucking unplayable. I'm like, damn, these guys have very crazy standards.
Okay, so Mikhail, go. What were you gonna say?
Okay, I think I'm the only one who played it on console like through the review period, and I'm still playing it over there while all of y'all are on PC.
Which console did you
So
play it on?
both. I
Okay,
mean, okay,
okay,
PS5 and Xbox Series X, not Series S. And
okay.
I'm kind of glad I didn't because going by the Digital Foundry video, the Series S version kind of feels like how Monster Hunter World was on base Xbox all those years ago. But yeah, so when James did the preview and said the PS5 version felt a lot better than the beta and it was holding 60 FPS well and it was looking much better, I trust him on that. So I was like, cool, like let's hope Capcom doesn't mess it up when they send out review codes and stuff. So when I got the game and I started playing, I was like, holy shit, why did they release the second open beta using the same build? Because the build was dog shit, straight up. It kind of makes people think that the game is worse than it actually is. The game shipped pretty poorly optimized, but the beta is I mean, I would say Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is better than the beta in many ways. So yeah, so
Damn.
on the console version, I played through the story at the 40 hertz balance mode on base PS5. I was very happy with how it felt, how it looked. But then for the like after I got through high rank, after I got into high rank, I should say, I swapped to the 60 FPS mode because I was also streaming it on my PlayStation Portal to try out. And I was happy with the performance, but the visuals take a massive hit. But then I said, let me just get 60 FPS, and I was very happy with the performance almost all the way. It dropped quite a bit in the new Udra fight and Gore Magala as well. But in general, this was, I'd say, like massively better than my experience with Monster Hunter World on PS4 Pro and on Xbox One X years ago. Now, I also played it on Xbox Series X, this new version, and the advantage there I have is my monitor supports VRR on that, and the drops from 60 aren't as bad or weren't even noticeable on Series X thanks to VRR. So, yeah, I've been getting through the story over there, and I've been using the Xbox version for guides also, like for some of the screenshots which I've been taking and stuff. So, I am happy in a way with the console version because the beta prepared me for like below rock bottom. But and I'd say it's better than how Monster Hunter usually ships on consoles, but these are like super powerful consoles compared to like PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. It should look better than it does, despite performance being better than I expected. And yeah, before getting to where y'all are on PC, I also tried it on Steam Deck as I wrote about in my article. And yeah, it's just unplayable on
You
Steam
got
Deck.
a lot of people kind of being a little bit spicy about the fact
I
that
saw
you
that.
yeah, I
I
can
saw that.
understand
Yeah.
where they're coming from because if I was gonna play the console version, I would have probably used Chiaki on like Deck OLED, but
Yeah,
yeah.
so the thing is, I that's how my setup was, and I also specified in the article that I didn't test it myself, but you can still stream it to your Steam Deck, and you can still stream it on anything. But yeah, the I think the only acceptable handheld experience right now is streaming it from your powerful console or your powerful PC
I'm very
to a
curious
handheld.
how the newest MSI Intel handheld might handle it because I have a feeling that might be a decent experience.
So I've been talking to Noah who runs Steam Deck HQ, and he got the I&II 3, and he mentioned it a bit in his article where he was getting it to I think 1080p 40 or 30 or something on that. So there are handhelds which are coming out that can run it, but right now just unplayable on the Steam Deck beyond saving. It's much worse than Dragon's Dogma 2 was at launch. On the ROG Ally, you have to put in as much as you can, have it plugged in, run it at like tell me one thing, if you're running at 720p with ultra performance FSR3, isn't the internal resolution like 400p or less on that
No, it's
front?
less than that because performance would be at 720p would be 360p, so you're probably looking at like 240p.
Yeah, so you're running it at like that internal resolution with everything at its lowest and everything off, and it can do like 28 to 30 FPS. So yeah, barely playable. So yeah, now let y'all have powerful PCs. How's it been for y'all?
I will say though, like streaming the game on Steam Deck from Steam, like from my PC, that's been actually pretty stable, which probably isn't saying much, but I don't do that often. And I was like, oh wow, this is like actually playable.
There you go.
Um, but I got when I was rocking this with a 3080 and a 5800 X3D, it was not good. I think I basically hovered around like 40 to 50 FPS the entire time, and it bothered me so much that again I did like a complete PC upgrade because I got a bonus at work. And it's funny, it got delayed so much that I was not able to install my new parts until after I already beat low rank. And I was kind of like, well,
That's when the real game begins after.
yeah, but it's like now I have to wait for everybody like publicly to like catch up. So it's
Yeah,
like,
but
oh, I
most of
feel
my
like
friends
I
are mashing skip cutscene as fast as they can. A good chunk of them already got through it, but a lot for them, for the others, try to mash through low rank as fast as they can. They're suffering. The forced walking is killing. They're like, I can't take this.
Josh, I think more people should have skipped cutscenes in Doom Eternal, don't you think?
So for context, Mikhail sent an interesting, like, I don't know, tidbit, like an interview where I guess how id because I guess id tracked like how many people skip cutscene in Doom, which is not many. So they're like, oh, people aren't skipping, like, our story bits. That means they want more story. So we're gonna really go in on story, which is why Doom Eternal and now upcoming the Doom the Dark Ages is very cinematic story focused because not a lot of people they wanted more story. That's what they took out of the data, I guess. So I'm just like, oh man, so that means that more people should mash skip cutscenes. So for the next Monster Hunter mainline, maybe Capcom will give less story then. um, just I wonder if they can track that. I'd be genuinely curious. I think they can, but I mean, just
You think
anyway,
they're gonna
yeah.
put out a you think they're gonna put out a stat which says 500 million cutscenes have been skipped
Yeah,
for
not the
launch days?
infographic. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Oh, that'd be amazing
instead of
infographic.
like player count, it's like 10 million cutscene skippers have played Monster Hunter Wilds.
Oh man, please! I need that infographic. Yeah, so I'm with you, Colin. Like our PC specs are similar. Where I have a 3080 and I have a 5950 CPU, and compared to the beta, like the opening like desert area like ran much better for me. I was like able to hover between 55 to 60 consistently, while in the beta I was like 35 to 40 maybe optimistically. So for me, it was like out of the gate, I was like, oh wow, this runs much better than the beta. Then you start seeing the cracks once you start getting into the oil well basin region. So once you get out of the forest into that third area into the oil well basin, you'll see your frame rate counter start averaging much lower. You're like, oh god, my PC does not like this region at all.
The fight
And
against the Anjarkan, well, the two Anjarkan, like it when during the like Fire Spring was when the game's frame rate dipped the lowest for me on my playthrough.
oh really? How I mean, how is it from the highest heavens, James? How is it running for you?
It was running with pretty much no stuttering before I downloaded the high-res texture pack. Unfortunately, so Digital Foundry put out a video talking about how there's some issues with the way that the texture streaming works in this game. And apparently, part of it's that, and also part of it is that if you're using NVIDIA Reflex, if you're using FrameGen, you have to. Whatever like implementation they're using for Reflex is just completely bugged. The way that they implemented it has caused massive frame pacing issues, which is why I've been seeing people that are playing on AMD reporting much smoother frame times because they don't have Reflex; they just have AMD's thing. So I did download the HD texture pack. Last night I managed to get it smooth because there's two things. So if you've been playing on PC long enough, you're familiar with Special K, not the serial, the software, which is developed by, I believe, Caldean. I think that's how you pronounce it. So he's made an update, or I don't actually know their pronouns. I'll say they. They made an update to the program to actually adjust for the frame pacing issues with wilds, and they've also made it so that you can force GPU decompression through direct storage off. So if you have the extra headroom on the CPU, or more accurately, if you don't have as powerful of a GPU, you can force that off so that the frame rate dips you get from turning the camera won't be as noticeable. So I've kept the GPU decompression on because the frame rate dips are not really stuttery. They're just like the frame pacing is still fine. And if I actually turn it off, I do run into some more stutters that way. So I'd rather have these slightly lower frames when twisting the camera around and all that. But if you're playing on PC, no matter what, download Special K, download the most recent DLL from the Discord, because the frame pacing with that new version is a night and day difference, and it's really fixed any of the issues I've been having with stuttering with the HD texture pack. I will not say that it will fix it for you. I'm pretty sure, literally, unless you have a 4090 or a 5090, do not download the HD texture pack. Capcom should be ashamed.
Oh yeah, the high, like, even like the default high resolution textures are like kind of embarrassing. So knowing that I have to get like over $1,000 graphic card just to have the game look like acceptable is just like, what were you guys doing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the high res, or not the high res texture, but the high textures in game without the pack is interesting, because I think everyone who's played this game has commented on it, like on PC, but like the keeper's coats that like are supposed, like they look like white coats, but when you look at them, they look like they're like your GPU. There's something wrong with your GPU because they have that kind of green, like green pink fuzz.
That's
On their
intentional,
coats.
even with the HD texture.
Yeah. I assumed it was intentional when I saw them, but like everyone will question, like, for maybe a good like 2 seconds, like, is there a problem with my GPU, or is this
Yeah.
intentional? You know, and just like one of those weird decisions that like no one at the dev team was like, you know, you think this looks okay? It's like, I think there's
But
something wrong
yeah.
with the PC.
But yeah, I guess the least damning thing I can say about the PC version is that with Special K, I can now say that you can comfortably max out this game on a top of the line system and have a good enough experience. But it's like,
I think
that
either
is
way, it's
so many
unacceptable.
qualifiers.
Yeah, it's unacceptable the way that they shift this on a technical state. You know, like it's not. And once again, there's not a new thing. Like when Monster Hunter World came out on PC, it was a nightmare for a lot of users too. But like, just because it's happened before doesn't mean that like it absolves it whatsoever. Like, hey, this just happened recently last year with Dragon's Dogma 2, and even then, Dragon's Dogma 2 on PC still runs like dog shit for a lot of people, even after all the fixes and patches that came.
I have a weird comparison. So sometimes I see, probably the most generous argument I see is that this is like a future-proof thing where the game will perform even better years down the line on better equipment, sort of thing. That's the most generous read I can take on this. But, and this is maybe a weird comparison, Brian, just a couple months ago, recently played through the original Kingdom Come Deliverance. And that game, which released like 6 years ago, had like this kind of, I think they called it experimental mode that was meant to be sort of like a future-proofing mode. And guess what? Even though that was 6 years ago, it still runs like crap. Because, like, so of course it does, because it wasn't really ever optimized for anything at the time.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's my thought, is that like some people do make that argument that like, oh, it'll just be, that means the game will just be, even when the next GPUs and CPUs come out, it'll be even better. And it's like, I don't know. I don't think.
Yeah, and I'm not going to defend Capcom whatsoever for the textures, because even if you say, oh, well, they said the HD texture pack requires 16 gigabytes of VRAM, there's not a 16 gigabyte VRAM card that can run that acceptably because of how the texture streaming works. There's not a single one. People on Reset Era have been complaining about how stuttery of a mess it is on a 5080, and it's like, that is the best possible 16 gigabyte card you can get for that because of the memory bandwidth of GDDR7 and all that shit.
And can I also say that it's like, future proofing is like a good idea in theory, but like there's something with the rendering of this game where like I'm able to now, like, I can't get like stable performance, but I'm able to now turn off like upscaling, to just get the game running at what should be like its native resolution, and
It
it's
looks
like
fuzzy.
it's yeah, it's like it seems like under the hood there's still some kind of weird upscaling going on, or like bad anti-aliasing where I should
think
be able
part
to
of
get
it-
this.
I think part of it is that I think even if you don't have ray trace reflections on, it's very clear it's using some sort of at least software like global illumination RT, and it is so noisy and splotchy, and it just does not look good most of the time. Like if you stand in the last village you unlock and look at anything even slightly metallic, it just looks terrible, and it's constantly like
yeah.
morphing.
You can see
Yeah.
like little like dots and like pixels, like kind of like just it's just general noise on like objects. it's
And
just
that's
like,
why
what
I'm
is
saying
going
it's
on?
like even if you have ray tracing off, it's clear it's using some sort of global illumination because that is telltale sign of like fucking RT global illumination with not enough like samples. It does not look good at all. It looks
Yeah.
really bad.
Yeah, Capcom really needs to figure out the PC state of this game, man. Like I can't say how it is on like on the PS5 and Xbox, but it seems like okay on PS5 from what VKSA. I don't know how it is on Xbox, but they need to figure out something with the PC version of this game fast.
I didn't know that about like there already being fixes with Special K.
Just came out last night.
Okay, I'll have
Okay, yeah,
to
this is the first time I'm hearing it too. Yeah.
take a look at that and see if there's anything that can like kind of improve my experience.
Me too. Me too.
But yeah, like all I can say is that the frame pacing is a noticeable improvement, which wasn't really too much of a problem when I was on the high textures instead of the highest textures. But I'm sorry, bro. I can deal with some slight stuttering that's mitigated by Special K if I can have textures that look anywhere near resembling something that came out 2 years ago, let alone this year.
And like and generally like the default settings of like of their brightness settings in that game like makes the game feel way too washed out. Like I had to finally like dig in deep. It's like okay, in the third brightness setting where it shows you both two squares, you want that shit all the way down for the colors to be more vibrant instead of washed out.
Oh
Because
yeah,
the luminosity setting of that.
if you're playing in HDR, I'm on a mini LED display, and what I have set up for brightness on HDR is max brightness at 11, overall brightness at 6, shadow brightness at 7 or 8, depending, and highlight brightness at 10. That really helps with the overall presentation of the image, so it doesn't feel super washed out. It's still not a great HDR image, but it takes it from looking worse than SDR to looking noticeably better. So if you're using a proper HDR display, definitely mess with the HDR settings because whatever they're using for default just completely raises the blacks and makes the game look pretty fucking terrible.
Oh god, Capcom. That's like it's amazing that like that they're able to get away with this. Let's say, like I love Monster Hunter to death, and man, they're really stretching whatever goodwill they have on this game. I mean, the game is fun, but oof, man, God. Um, general like I know this is gonna sound weird, but like there's a lot of like general gameplay changes that like I guess you can some people call it quality of life, some people call it dumbing it down. There are definitely some um things that they've introduced to this game that really kind of I guess made it I guess more streamlined. I guess is the most charitable way to put it. Where like they have like it's an open world game. You have like these seamless maps, seamless open world zones and whatnot. And the complexity of these maps is generally like more lively and more general layouts are more complex than World and in Rise and so forth. And you have this new creature called the Sacred that you can mount, and one of its handy features that a lot of people have noticed throughout the open beta and now with the full release is the ability to just basically auto navigate to the monsters. And there are definitely some um, reviews out there from people who are playing it to people who've reviewed the game from pre-release saying that like, hey, for all the complexity that you've introduced to these maps, and like you have like it feels like a full ecosystem. It feels like that a lot of people the map designs aren't they don't really care much about the map designs because they feel like, hey, I can just like auto navigate to the monster, which makes the maps more, I guess, maybe unmemorable for them. I guess what are your thoughts on like that whole aspect of the game where like, hey, there's so much more life to these maps, but it feels like a lot of it feels wasted because of how
I
extreme like the
definitely
auto
agree.
sacred movement is.
I definitely agree with that complaint, but I do also understand why they would have come across that. And I don't think it was necessarily just them trying to make it overly easy, but it's like you can have multiple of the same monster on the map at the same time. Like I think about the fact that whenever Yon Cuckoo spawns in the forest, there's like 5 of them,
Mhm.
and if it didn't automatically like bring you to the right Yon Cuckoo, like I was literally talking with a buddy of mine last night where he was hunting a Guardian Doshiguma, and he got carded, and he came out and he was like, "Oh, there's that fucker. I'm gonna kill him now." And it's like, wait a second, I killed it. Why didn't I get the quest complete? Oh, God damn it, I hunted the wrong one. So it's like before that, I would have been like, you know what? Maybe they're being a bit overzealous, even if I can understand why they did it. But after that, it's like, no, I get it. They were right, unfortunately.
What do you guys think, Mikhail and Colin, on the whole auto navigation in this game and kind of how that maybe clashes with the map?
I'm not huge on it. Like it like nice in the sense like, oh, I get to browse my phone for a minute, respond to messages while I run back to the monster. But also it's like, damn, I'm not engaging with this map design like at all.
Mhm.
Yeah. I haven't like memorized any of the maps yet, and I've been playing for like almost 100 hours.
Well, how about you,
I think
Mikhail?
Yeah, so pre-release, I remember when we were discussing it, I told you that I'm going to tell people to not use the secret completely and just explore the maps on your own, because how else are you going to find out some of the where to gather and stuff. And then you brought up this thing about you can just mark that on the map and your Uber driver will take you over there, and that's what I've been doing. But then it also got me to thinking about how they streamlined this to the point where like the camps, they have this sub camp system which we'll talk about. That doesn't really matter except for if you're going to like fish or like capture endemic life. But they still left some weird stuff in the game, because you remember how Monster Hunter Rise removed hot drinks and cold drinks. They're back over here, but then they still removed some of the other friction which you have in a hunt. So it feels like they again didn't want to go all the way, which I'm glad they didn't, because it would have like changed the game too much. But I don't know how they decided to leave like cold drink and hot drinks in, but they make it so that you don't need to explore the map at all,
I
and
mean,
you can just have this thing take you wherever. So
I mean, it's also like a lot of that feels streamlined as well because you have the chill mantle and the heat mantle bugs as well. It's like, oh, I forgot a drink. Let me just go get a bug and eat on that, and I
And they're
got.
like
oh
conspicuously right near the base
yeah,
camp, so you can
Yeah,
always get
yeah.
one. And hunts are so slow that usually, well, I mean, so like
yes,
so fast that usually you kill the monster before it even runs out.
yeah.
So
So it feels like a non like it feels almost fake and ingenuine to some extent.
I think the slinger to gather is the best change though from all
Yeah,
these
I do
quality
agree
of
with
life
that.
things.
yeah,
Yes, yeah, that shit is good. Um,
Yeah, so that stuff like that is really nice. I feel like a lot of the problems which we have with it are stuff which at least most of them can be addressed in updates, where they can like when people say the wound system, this is something they can like balance out pretty easily. So I don't, again, like I'm still gonna just keep banging the or sounding like a broken record and say we'll see how the first title update ships, but this is not something which we should keep letting them get away with. Like when Monster Hunter Gen 7 or whatever they make, which probably comes out on the Switch too, it's gonna be the same thing again. We're gonna be playing it pre-release and you're gonna run into this thing, oh, is that it? And I guess we have to wait for March or April again or something like that. So yeah,
one
we
I,
need
thing
to.
that's
Yeah.
I,
just neither here nor there that I do want to kind of shout out, because I was one of those sickos that actually bothered to get all the crowns for Monster Hunter World to get the platinum trophy on PS4. Thank fucking God the binoculars will just tell you if a
yeah,
monster's a crown now.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's very handy. Yeah,
I need
there's
you,
definitely a lot of nice changes on that.
listener, if you've played Monster Hunter World, I need you to understand the spawn rate for crowns in that game was like around 4%. If a quest could have it, it would be a large crown or a small crown. There was event quests that would let you do it, but since you couldn't tell if a monster looked like it was close to it, and by the way, people would literally just there was videos showcasing, okay, put on the Gilly mantle. Now, like, go up against like the Black Diablos's like knee and just see how you look compared to it. If the knee is when you're crouched down, if the knee is above you, then it's probably a gold crown, but you don't know for sure until you kill it. And then keep in mind, I did this on PS4, not before the before the PS5. Remember how bad the load times were for that game? I don't know why I did that.
I don't know why you did that
I
either.
think that I think that's like I spoke about the PS5 performance. Having like 4 seconds to load into a quest and get back is the best shit ever. Like I'm very happy about that. So yeah.
Let's see here. I think it's just I don't know. I still kind of mixed on like it's like it'll maybe get better. We'll see. Um, oh, that reminds me of what I wanted to bring up. So you remember during the low rank story quests, and it is very indicative of like of how SEO is shaping up for this game when people are going through the story. They kind of condition you about this auto navigate with the secret, right? Then there's one mission in the entire lower rank story where it says find the black flame, and that's the only objective. And now that is one of the highest ranking SEO terms because after it's conditioned you so much to rely on auto navigate, the one time that it's like, hey, why don't you go find something manually for yourself? It for me, it took me like 5 seconds to be like, okay, where do I need to go? And it's like, oh, I could just pull up the map, try to find this thing's icon, and then press R3 to waypoint it, and then it'll auto navigate me to there. A good number of people are like, oh god, I have to manually navigate through it, and then there's something about the way that they've designed these maps in the game also to they're more complex, but now it's also harder to like manually navigate them by sight because if you're trying to look for like the ramp down to the lower level, if you're trying to do that manually, you know, you have no idea where it is because the game has not really gave you a way to like ingrain that into your memory or a way to really introduce you about the map design of the game. It makes you so reliant and clutching on this auto navigate. So just having the find the black flame class like ranked super high on SEO because there's some strange decisions once again with this game of like where the devs are like, we're gonna introduce this to you and we're gonna make you really rely on it. But then now the one time that it's like, hey, go figure it out on your own how you navigate to this. I'm sure a lot of people can figure out, hey, pull up the map, waypoint this monster. But there's still a good chunk of people that are like, oh my god, it's not telling me, it's not auto navigating me. I have this objective. I'm pushing up on the D-pad, and my secret is just stopping. It's not going anywhere. What do I do? It's just like one of those weird decisions. Once again, it's like, oh, what are you trying to tell people? I very strange game. Very strange game. How are you feeling about your weapons in general? Whatever weapons you guys are using, what have you used before, and how do you feel about it now in Wilds?
I love the fact that they changed the uppercut slash for greatsword so that you can charge it, and now it's a counter move. Offset counters fucking rule. I love it on the greatsword. I love it on the hunting horn. I love. We talked about the power clashes. It really does complete greatsword in a way that I didn't think it really even needed. But now it's like, oh yeah, you don't need to touch this weapon ever again. It's already perfect. Gun Lance feels so much better this time around.
Oh, yeah.
First off, they gave us a second Wyvern's Fire charge, which is insane. Second, the way that the shelling works feels a lot better because you have the one combo everyone's doing where it's like you do one like shelling attack, then you do the wide sweep, and then you just spam like your like sweeping attacks that also just unload all of your shelling. And it's like, oh man, if you're in multiplayer and like people are locked in on the monster, that just shreds through enemies. Not to mention, I'm pretty sure that Gunlance's focus strike attack on wounds is the best in the entire game just because of how ridiculous the drill goes.
There's a lot of good focus attack animations, like dual blades on focus attack. It's just like you just become an anime ninja god when you hit a focus attack with a dual blades because you basically turn into a Beyblade. I guess is the best way to put. You basically go spin. You basically go run up the monster as you're slashing through it. Then you literally turn into a Beyblade in the air and spin horizontally, slicing through the entire monster.
Also, I'm just glad that Hunting Horn is back to how it should be after Rise.
Right. It's
That
more
was
like the
a
wolf again.
terrible, terrible mistake. I hope the portable team does not go back to that unfortunate experiment with the eventual Switch 2 Monster Hunter. Just don't.
Mhm. Yeah, I wonder what they're gonna do with the hunting horn because it seemed very divisive from Rise because like like some people actually really liked it, and people and a lot of like hunting horn traditionalists are like, no man, what the
The
fuck did you do to
people
this
that
weapon?
actually use hunting horn hated it, and the people that just tried hunting horn for a little bit because they were like, "Oh, that's neat," then never again liked it. That's me being an elitist, but you gotta understand. I was
You got
actually using.
you're gatekeeping. It's like this is the one time I have to gatekeep. This one time, all right. The hunting horn, you gotta make sure that to not
Look, for
rise it
all
up.
my issues with Wilds, one thing I don't have an issue with is that all of the weapon move sets feel really good, and the way that the focus strikes are integrated in them feels good. I'm happy. I'm
Hmm.
happy. So
My
How
charge blade
about
feels good, and my gun lance feels good. I don't need anything else. I have been properly fed.
Mikhail, what are you using in Wilds and how do you feel
So,
about it?
so what I was gonna do in Vials is I was gonna finish the story using Greatsword, and then I was gonna swap to Hunting Horn. But what happened is then I saw the trophy list and I saw this thing for reaching HR 100, and I was like, I don't want to learn a new weapon, and I'm not doing the review, so I can just stick to what I'm doing right now. So I stuck to Greatsword for till HR 105, I think. And I know you can, there's something we haven't brought up yet. You can actually carry two weapons on your hunts now and change
Yeah.
them on the secret. But I didn't bother with that at all. But I do have a hunting horn over there, which, like James said, it feels like how it was in the earlier games. And what I liked about the Sunbreak Hunting Horn is it let me play the game like a podcast game. Like I could literally do like Shagaru and stuff when I was healing people without even watching the screen. Like it got to that point with Hunting on there. Over here, it's actually involved. I like it. I haven't tried hammer yet, but that's gonna be the third weapon I main. I just crafted the maximum rarity 8 level you can make right now. I don't want to say more about it without getting into spoilers, but yeah, I have enough parts to like max out whatever I want at this point, given how much I've played. So I'm very happy with Greatsword. Like James covered everything already. I love Greatsword, so very happy with the designs also. I think that's very important because World's Greatswords, except for a few of them, they were pretty boring. But there's no layered weapons yet in the game, which is kind of annoying. What do you think
Yeah,
of that?
I wish they had layered. I was surprised there was no layered weapons. They have layered armor, and for people who don't know, there's basically transmog. So if you want to if you want to equip a certain armor, but you want it to look a certain way because you like another armor's design, you can. That's layered armor. Basically, change the appearance but still having the effects of another. They have that for armor here, but not for weapons and wilds yet. I don't know if they're going to add that, but for whatever reason, you have layered armor, but not layered weapons options. And
yeah,
I think they had that in Rise for layered weapons,
yeah.
if I
What I
remember
will
correctly.
say is that I didn't have an issue with no layered weapons with Greatsword because like basically the best Greatsword just looks incredible. But unfortunately for Gunlance, there is no real best Gunlance, and the one I've kind of started using at endgame is the Rathian Gunlance of all things because of the poison, and if you get Foray, you deal extra damage to monsters that are suffering an ailment. So if a monster is poisoned, that increases the amount of damage I'm doing, which I'm pretty sure this time around also works for shelling damage too. So,
Hmm. Yeah.
but great sword. I've been using the. We can talk about the end game now. Enough people have gotten to it. The Arshan weapons, which are basically you get the parts to kind of craft them. Uh, it doesn't really matter what parts you use for a great sword because it's like, well, you're gonna want to do raw damage anyways. So just whatever you want that gives you enough affinity,
Go to
and
town.
yeah. So I've been using that, and when you fully reinforce an Arshan weapon, it gives it like this sort of like red kind of glow to it whenever it activates, and it looks really cool.
Yeah, so
And it
that's
has like these animations and whatnot.
that's the neat thing about the Arshan hammer because I was a hammer main for low rank, and then I started doing insect glaive and now dual blades. So hammer is really cool with its max upgraded Arshin, because like when you fully charge it, it has like an ignition like thing at its back. It's like almost like rocket powered. It looks like at its back. So like it has a really cool like just effect when you have it fully charged up, where it looks like you're about to unleash a bomb with a fully charged hammer swing on it, which is a really neat effect. Hammer feels, hammer is hammer. It feels really good. It does have its a thing from Rise. It has its wire bug mobility move where when you're holding down a charge, you press circle and you use your grappling hook instead of a wire bug to uh, uh, push yourself forward without losing the charge. So you can actually be pretty mobile while charging up hammer strikes on it. So it just feels like a blast to play hammer in this game. Feels really good as well when you're bonking monsters, because they've reintroduced hit stop to the game, which was absent from the beta. But the hit stop does feel good in this game in the full version. Insect Glaive is a weird one where they reintroduced that aerial vault dancing, so the aerial glaive style is back in the game, so you can um, be in the air for quite a while when you have all three bug buffs. You can get 3 buff stacked pretty fast, because when you do a focus a strike on a wound, your bug will automatically retrieve all the buffs for you. So you can maintain that pretty reliably as
I'm
long as there
assuming
are
with like
wounds.
power prolonger, you're just basically never out of like Goldman state and whatnot.
Yeah, you're really not out of that state for very long. Even when you're out of that state and there's no wounds, like you can deploy the bug manually like in older titles, but because of the sacred in this game, you can actually retrieve buffs while you're taking swings at the monster on the sacred. So as you're just normally swinging your insect glaive on like the head, the chest, the tail, your bug will just get those buffs real fast and come back to you while you're on the sacred, which is also a really fast way to get back those buffs if in the off chance that you don't have any wound attacks to rebuff yourself. And which is it's weird. The sacred is really good in this game. I gotta admit, it's really good. Um, Especially for some weapons like that. So that's an interesting way to do that. So, but other than that, Insect Glaive feels fantastic in this game. Dual Blades, I just barely started uh, learning dual blades in Wilds. It's really fun. It's very fun. Balancing demon mode and arc demon mode, and the anime ass attack that it does off of focus strikes. Being able to like go back into wild dance in demon mode from archdemon mode, because archdemon mode has a demon flurry starter that like once that demon flurry starter hits, you can auto switch back right away seamlessly to demon mode at wild dance, demon dance or wild dance 2 or whatever. So you can get to wild dance 3 really fast from archdemon mode without having to manually switch back into demon mode, which is really crazy. Also, when you do a focus strike uh, on a monster, it'll automatically refill all your stamina as well. So if you're doing that while in demon mode, congratulations, you have more stamina to work with in demon mode once you land a focus attack. So you can just go very much ham in dual blades in wilds. It's crazy how fast and how much upkeep you have in demon mode. So that like they've done a really great job around the board of like just kind of rectifying the things that were a problem in the open beta. And in general, it seems like most weapons, I can't say for all weapons, but most weapons seem really fantastic. I know one of the biggest glow ups from the open beta into full release was Lance. It seems like Lance people are really happy with the state of Lance in the full game. So very happy for them. I kind of want to learn Lance. I
I
wonder if I should.
I always like go to Lance eventually too. One thing that's really fascinating that Wilds changes that I don't think we've touched upon yet is the way that armor skills have completely been changed. Because
Mhm.
now it's like, okay, if you want combat skills, you can only like decorations now are split into armor decorations and weapon decorations, and the types of skills that those give are very different. So
Yeah.
for a lot of the game, like some like end game like builds are going to be a lot more fascinating because now people are going to be forced to use weapons that maybe they don't want to use necessarily because they have the skills that they want and they don't have the decorations yet. And if
Yeah.
there's like limited slots, I do think it's a good change overall because it forces you to really think about your loadout more than in World where it's like as soon as you found the meta set, it's like everyone had the meta set. But now, like the meta set's going to be different for each weapon because you have to account for the fact that, well, you're not necessarily going to get all the skills you want. You're going to have to pick and choose, and it's going to be a little bit stricter to get the skills you want, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, more like forcing flexibility instead of like one meta for all is always a more interesting path. So I'm very interested to see where people land on it once more people get into end game and start doing the farm for it. Um, I'm very curious to see where the community lands on that stuff. Um, but yeah, that's a good call out as well because that is one of the big changes. That's quite a bit of Monster Hunter Wilds. Was there anything else you guys wanted to talk about with this game? We've talked about it for quite a while, and I don't know how much more we can get out of it. But once again, it's a massive game, just released. What do you guys? Is there anything else you guys want to talk about with this game?
Nope, I think I'm good.
Yeah.
Good. How about you, Mikhail? How far are you gonna take your HR before you feel satisfied?
I don't know actually, because given where I am in the game, I was working to finish the optional quests because I usually do those with SOS. So if it's a boring quest against small monsters, I just have to like kill a few of them because I'm really lazy. Once I finish the final guide for now for the site, I literally got into like George Costanza and Seinfeld sitting on the recliner and eating cheese. I was like, now I can relax and play the game. So was just doing that stuff.
I know you
And
you you have been amazing with guides, and of course we chatted on the review, and of course we have a shitload of Monster Hunter
Yeah.
Wilds guides, and a lot of it was from Mikhail.
Yeah, I
Mikhail,
gotta
holy fuck!
I gotta be honest. Like I was like planning to do a lot more guides, and then I looked at the CMS. I was like, oh god.
Yeah, Mikhail was like, leave guides to me, fucking the Jiren style. I'm like, oh my god, and Cullen, you're working on some guides. I did like
I
the
did
guides that I
one. I'm
put up.
gonna get a ore guide up later
Yeah.
today.
Mhm.
I did one.
I
There
basically
was so
came
many
in.
guides up
Oh.
on day one. I was like, I'm gonna give it some room to breathe.
Yeah, yeah.
I,
I
I
mean,
basically came up. I was like, may I have some more, please? Is there any room?
yeah. Oh, there's always gonna be room for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, and
I think Adam posted a screenshot which looked at the CMS, and there was like the symbol for a post which hasn't been published yet, and there was like 12 of them which I just left in that day. Yeah,
yeah,
that was
and
fun.
then
But yeah,
and then
I think I'm gonna get to 200 maybe when the first title update hits, because right now it's just like in this old Discord server, which I don't remember if it was from NeoGaf or from Reset Era, but like I've been in that since around World's release, just playing with those folks over there. And if anyone just sees me online, like, and I'll probably jump into the squad also, because like we should bring that up. We have an RPG site
yeah,
squad in Monster Hunter Wilds. So yeah.
yeah. So for people who don't, anyone who wants to join our community, um, Monster Hunter Wild Squad, we have the details up on. I put it up on the Discord. I should probably pin them now that you're reminding me. We also put it up on social media as well. So if you guys are interested, go check those out. There's quite a bit of people already in the squad. We still have quite a lot of slots left, so don't worry about that because each squad can support up to 50 people, I believe. So
Yeah.
they did, and you can join multiple squads. So it's not like you have to choose one over the other. You can join whatever. Like I'm like in two, one for my close friends and one for the RPG site community. So they did a good job on that front, even though it's a bit on a wonky and integration. It does, it's still a lot of like, you don't have to pick one over the other. Um, yeah, but like we said, this is a fun game to play when it allows you to play it, and but it's also the state that it's in is they need to Capcom really needs to figure out what it wants to do with this PC version because I know they've made optimizations from the open beta to full launch, and it does show, but it's still not enough. They cannot just tell people hey, if you're troubleshooting, try these things. They need to like assure people like, hey, we're looking into it, and we should try.
Yeah, because as of right now, Capcom has not admitted that there's technical issues with the PC version.
Which is crazy when vertex explosions are happening to a bunch of people.
Apparently, that's like an NVIDIA problem.
That's happened to me too. Yeah. So at certain angles, when your camera at certain angles behind you, like you'll start getting like crazy black triangles like popping up at certain angles of your character
I've been
model.
hunting a tempered Ray Dow like great hunt during this conversation, and like literally a few seconds before you mentioned the vertex explosions, I got one.
It's I summoned them. I was thinking them in my brain first. I was like, ruin James game. Anyway, vertex explosions. It's great as well because if you go to like, let's say, naively, you're like, let me update my NVIDIA drivers. That'll make my performance in Monster Hunter better. The current drivers have a chance of just like blowing up your like the way your monitor's set up. It's like a pretty common thing where it'll just like black out some of your monitors and you have to revert just to get
Oh
it
my
to fix.
god. That's scary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
latest NVIDIA drivers have been kind of a mess since the 5000 series. It's funny how like I would feel more confident in saying that the new AMD GPU launch is going to be better on the driver front than how the NVIDIA launch has been, which is something that if you're a PC gamer, that is fucking bizarro world.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's just around the corner too with the new AMD GPUs. See how those fare up when people, get their hands on it and release videos and articles about it.
If they can actually have the 9070 XT available for $600 or within $50 of that with the like the AIB models, I think a lot of people are just going to go for that over a 5070 Ti just because they're sick of Nvidia shit this generation.
I was thinking about it. Honestly, like while I did just spend a bunch of money on this stuff, I'm like, if I can get one of those easily for $600 and it does like match up at all, like fuck it, I might go AMD for the first time in my life. Because it's like I have a 3080 and it's like a game like Monster Hunter, like a game that looks, and this was another thing that they mentioned on that Digital Foundry PC video, where it's like a game that looks this bad should not be having this kind of performance issues. Like, there are other games.
Capcom needs to say something about it. Like before the weekend ends, please just acknowledge that there's problems and you guys are looking into fixes and patches.
All they're saying with the PC version is it's probably going to cross 1.5 million people playing by Sunday. So.
Yeah, they're like, it's doing great. It's perfect actually. There's nothing wrong.
All part
What
of
are you
the
guys talking
plan.
about? I know.
10 billion frames have been generated.
Like
That's what they say.
when I saw it launch, and then their response was like, "If you, here are some troubleshooting tips. Go to this site for some troubleshooting tips." It's like, no, Capcom, what are you doing?
Oh my god, I would not read troubleshooting tips from the developers. That's just
Yeah, their troubleshooting is like, I don't know, go like restart your computer. It should be all right after that.
I feel like it's the when you're like calling like the cable company for tech support and they tell you, "Have you tried plugging in your cable?" I feel like that's
No, I didn't actually. Wow, thanks for telling me.
The restarting thing actually helps on Xbox because there's some issue which my friend was running into. I didn't run into it where he was playing it, and after 4 hours, the performance would just start tanking, and he had to like force
Memory leak.
reboot his console. Yeah, so that apparently is still a thing. It happens in some games. So yeah, he had to do that. Otherwise, he got those weird texture issues on the title screen also. So yeah, you do need to restart once in a while over there, apparently.
I mean, it is best practice on
Yeah.
PC games, like after a couple of hours, just to be on the safe side to maybe restart. But it can't be a catch-all solution. It's not a catch-all solution.
Capcom's like, you know what?
But don't we gotta?
Capcom's like,
We have your money.
Try putting settings to lowest and tell us how that goes. Do you think that works all right?
Yeah.
Thanks, Capcom.
Yeah. There's one more thing I want to talk about for
Yeah.
Monster Hunter. We haven't spoken about the soundtrack at all yet. Do y'all have any thoughts on that?
I like the
That's
White
really
Raid
good.
soundtrack. I like the Nursilla arrangement for this one.
Final boss of low rank is a good theme.
Yeah. I also now that you mentioned, I like how you can put like BGM in your guild cards. They actually have like guild cards again in the game, and you can put like BGM for those guild cards. So I have the
When I
White
saw
game.
that, all I could think of is "Welcome to my MySpace page."
We gotta go back.
I know because how they do it is like it's like fully customizable. Like you can put like your hunter position and your palico and sacred wherever you want on it, and then you can fill it up with like just widgets, and you can place them all wherever and display whatever widgets you have. So you're like if they start like releasing a shitload of like customization for that, you're gonna see some wild fucking guild cards out there. I'm sure there's already some crazy ones out there for sure, but.
Update on the Tempered Ray Dow investigation. I just got 3 bolt gems as bonus rewards.
I don't need those anymore, but that's pretty.
Yeah, they're just gonna go right into making armor spears.
Yeah, but yeah, I do like that. Guild cards are way more versatile than they have been in previous Monster Hunter titles in this game. I don't ever look at other people's. I need to start looking at other people's though, as more people customize them and get further into
You
the
need
game.
the achievement for it. I think there's one for looking at 30 others.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's at least for launch day or near launch day Monster Hunter Wilds discussion. I'm sure we're gonna talk about this quite a bit as more title updates comes out and whatever Capcom decides, what they want to put into those. But there's gonna be fixes as well. Hopefully there will be fixes for this game across the board. And we'll see how they implement the Gathering Hub in this game, which is a weird thing to say about a Monster Hunter. It's like, oh, I wonder how they're gonna implement the Gathering Hub after launch. Oh. But to be fair, people really didn't use the Gathering Hub on Launch World either because they didn't have a lot of really useful facilities in that Gathering Hub in Launch World. So hopefully, when they launch the Gathering Hub in Wilds, everything will just be all the important shit will just be right by each other. Like for example, all the places where you can like smelt shit. Hopefully, that's all in the Gathering Hub. God, that just reminds me of like Alma being like a wandering quest counter. So sometimes you don't know where the fuck to start quests because Alma's wandering around.
That's especially bad in Suja, where it's like, why are you looking over the cliff right now? Why are you not near the tent? Stay near the tent, damn it.
I know. God damn it. I hate when Alma's wandering around. What are you doing, lady? So another weird decision once again in this game. Yeah. Well, thank you. I don't know if who needs to leave after the Monster Hunter Wilds discussion because I know it's late over for you, Mikhail. I don't know if you were gonna dip out, or if you were gonna stay.
I'll stay for a bit.
Okay. And how about you, Cullen? You're still okay, or you're gonna dip out?
I'm good for a little bit more.
Okay. All right. So that is we'll have more to say on Monster Hunter Wilds as more content is coming to it. Unfortunately, Steam Next Fest picked an inopportune time to come swing around. It started this week and it's gonna be ending pretty soon. So I didn't get to check out as many demos as I usually do during the Steam Next Fest. I got to check out Rusty Rabbit, which is that upcoming game from I think like Gen Urobuchi's on the script for it. It's like by Nitro Plus, and it has Kiryu's Japanese VEA voiced like the main like rabbit character, so he has a super deep voice and it sounds like just like Kiryu. And that really cute game though. I only got to play only a little bit of it. I know you did some stress testing on your hardware, James, with Rusty Rabbit. Really flexing the chops on 5090 on that.
How well did the frame rate maintain on your end when you got to a cutscene with that first shader?
It didn't like the first shader, but after that it was fine. But like in general, it was like the general performance was like okay though after the first bump. How about you?
Again, I'm not the best person to ask about this. I think when I got into a cutscene with the first shader, I lost like 20% of my frame rate.
I know you like cranked everything to highest because like this game like is very scalable with like top of the line settings with your hardware. Like I know like that your GPU usage was like at 99%. at one
I was
point.
drawing like 500 watts out of my fucking
Oh
GPU.
my fucking god, dude, that's crazy. So there you go. If you really want to stress your new 5090 or 50 series hardware, go boot up that Rusty Rabbit demo, I guess. And
Damn,
crank
I
up all
think
the
I'll
settings.
blow up my computer. This
There
way that you
you
describe
go.
it.
Josh,
Yeah,
I don't
get a-
think anyone that has a new graphics card is worried about what they're going to stress test it on. We just spent 2 hours talking about how Monster Hunter Wilds runs like shit.
Let's test that on Rusty Rabbit and put those power cables to the test and try not to die doing it. That's my tip of the week. I also checked out Guns on Darkness, which is that game that Shoji Meguro, who's most commonly known for as the composer of the modern SMT titles and Persona. He went to game development because he's now just a contractor for Atlas. So he had like a Kickstarter for it, a crowdfund for Guns on Darkness not that long ago. I would say it is. It has some neat ideas, but it's really, really, really jank as well. It is a turn-based combat system, and like your squad has like different types of guns on them. So like the main dude has like an assault rifle, the lady has a pistol, another dude has like a shotgun. And they work off of like a rock paper scissors system weakness with the enemies that you fight. And when you gain when you hit a weakness, if there's cover in like the turn-based battlefield, like your person will get into cover behind the wall, like when they hit a weakness. So like they're pretty much like immune to damage. Plus they'll get plus all the skills, like the AP points that you would need to activate a skill is like now down to 0 when they're undercover, and that only lasts for a turn. So there's like some interesting things with the turn-based battle system that they have in there, but like the implementation, like the production, obviously is very very unfortunately like amateurish in the way that like it's an interesting like first time indie dev title. Like if you view it under that lens, it's like okay, but there's a lot of things about it that like it's pretty rough around the edges. As also the motion blur not being able to turn off to it, it's kind of annoying because there's a lot of motion blur in it. And the and the and the music to it, it's very. I'm sorry, I have to say this, but it's painfully generic Persona Meguro. Like it feels like it's very like these songs could have just been like in a Persona game and like you would have noticed.
Is it
And it's
like
not.
the Persona 1 remake kind of type music? It's just like random gibberish lyrics.
No,
and
there's not. It's not. It's just like your typical down, 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 down,
And they get Lotus
down.
Juice for a song or something.
I think they did, but I didn't hear it in the demo. But they might be in the full game. I think Lotus Juice is involved with that project in some capacity.
The
So
Lotus
I
Juice
think I've seen some
anymore system.
screenshots of that game. Does it look like Phantasy Star in a way? Or am I thinking
kinda,
something
a
else?
little. I mean, like the outfits kind of look Fantasy Star-ish. Um, I feel really bad. I forgot the name of the exact artist, the character designer for that game. I apologize, but I feel really bad because people are saying, "Oh, this looks like AI art," but it's not AI art, the portraits. But
Well, it's the
that's
world we live in. If your
that's
art
the era we
just
live
looks in a certain
in.
style,
Well,
people
I
know
mean,
this assumes AI.
because generative AI art, looked at other real artists who had like certain styles and are replicating it. Um, I also tried out the Yasha Legends of something. What's it? Legends of the Demon Blade. That was a pretty interesting like action RPG with like a sort of a roguelike mechanic. Um,
Which
I
is
want to
the
check out the
free
full game.
characters that you use? Did you use all
I
3 of them, or you
No,
just
I
used
only use the
one of them?
Katana Lady. I just use the basic Katana Lady. She seems all right.
Oh, you didn't want to do the tiger guy?
I didn't do the Tiger Guide because I didn't have time, but
Like
I
the Tiger
should.
Guy's the most popular. They did like a Kickstarter, and then they sell like physical editions of character packs, and the Tiger Guy like sold like 10 times more than the other characters. Like, oh shit, we gotta reprint these and add more hacker packages or
Maybe in
something.
the full game I'll play the Tiger Guy. All right. Well, I have to probably if I'm reviewing that game, according to Adam. Um, let's see, and then there's other ones that I haven't tried out yet. I've downloaded the Promise Mascot Agency demo, the Aethermancer and Ghost Hand demo. I need to go try them out before next fest ends. But that's it though. I mean, there was nothing really this week besides Wild as like the big main game. So
Well, I talk about old games I recently try.
what do you? This has to be quick, Chow. We've been because we talked about Wild for a lot, and I'm sorry, but that was the main
Okay, fine,
game.
we'll save it for another time.
Yeah. Okay. Um. So the big main headline this week is there's a Pokemon event that happened this week. They had a lot of updates on the Pokemon franchise, or what's happening with like Pokemon Go events, new stuff coming to the TCG mobile game, and all that stuff. They also introduced a brand new Pokemon title that looked like Pokemon Stadium. It was called Pokemon Champions, and they said it was going to be battle oriented. It's coming to Switch and mobile phones, I believe, and it's going to interact with the Pokemon home storage and Scarlet and Violet to get your Pokemon in that game. But they really didn't detail too much about how that game is gonna go. Just all we know is Pokemon Champions, a new title, battle oriented. Sort of looks like Pokemon Stadium, but we don't really know much more
It's kind
outside of
of
that.
crazy that Pokemon Showdown's been a thing for so long, and it seems like they're finally going like, wait, shit, people like that. We should probably make something that makes it easy for people to just make teams and try them out in online matches.
Yeah, I wonder how it'll go. Like if you don't have either Pokemon Scarlet and Violet or Pokemon from Pokemon Home to transfer Pokemon in, and you're just trying to play the game on the game app itself. Like what roster selections or how that's gonna go. If it's like like in Pokemon Stadium, you just had pre-baked level 100 standard stock options in that game way back when, and that had everyone had a standard move set in
Yeah.
that. So
It's also
I
fascinating because it's battle oriented, but in the trailer it's like, hey, here's someone using a Mega Evolution versus someone using a terrestrialized Pokemon. This has never happened in a game before, so this is
You're
actually a pretty
right. I
big
actually
deal.
didn't catch that. That's weird. Now that you mention it.
Yeah, a lot of competitive Pokemon players that I kind of keep pay attention to, like Wolfie VGC, immediately clocked that and were like, oh man, if this is the going to be the format for competitive going forward where it's attached to this instead of the main games, that would actually be healthy for the scene
Hmm.
because then it would mean that they can be a bit more wacky when it comes to the battle systems in the main games. Kind of like what they're doing with Legends ZA, where it's like, hey, it's like an ATB real time movement action system, which looks fucking dope.
Yeah, yeah. Now that you mention it, so the big thing for people who like the Pokemon video games, they finally showed off once again Pokemon Legends Z to A, ZA. It's coming late 2025 for the Nintendo Switch. They did not mention anything about the Switch 2 because they're keeping their lips sealed on that until the April Direct. So I'm sure it's coming to the Switch 2, but we just don't know the exact details yet of how that's gonna go until the April Direct. So people chill out. Um, one of the big main things that they've showed off is the starters for Pokemon Legends EA. You have a Chikorita, you have a Totodile, and you have the what was the name of the pig because I don't remember anything
Epic.
past
Yeah,
Tepig. Yes,
I was, I
Tepig.
was almost fine. It's like, oh, this is a Pokemon Gold and Silver starter kit.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, there's no Cyndaquil. Sorry, the Cyndaquil is paying for its leaked crimes. So
God, no.
that's why it's canceled. So yeah, like you said, James, the battle system in this is. I remember in Pokemon Legends Arceus, you were able to move around the battlefield in that, but in this one, this is more what are the exact things that stuck out to you in this one?
So basically, there's a timing element to attacks and a movement element to attacks. Like in the trailer, they showed, for as an example, they had a Pokemon use Stealth Rock, and then a Talonflame dove right into it and took damage. But
Mm,
also there was an instance where it's like, okay, with the Totodile was using or not, yeah, Totodile was using a water gun, and you had to time it because the other Pokemon was also moving, and you can move with your Pokemon and dodge. It's really fascinating. It's completely different from not only mainline Pokemon, but also what Legends Arceus was doing, which was kind of modifying the turn order with the agile and
yeah, that's right.
I forget the name of the other style, but it's I'm a big fan of that because I did like how Legends Arceus messed around with the battle system and how it had fun with it. And if it means that we get a battle as crazy as Volo again, I'm all here for it.
Just now I see an editorial posted by Nintendo Everything basically saying Pokemon Legends ZA is like Xenoblade. It's got cooldowns.
Ugh.
Xenoblade's the only game with cooldowns.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm
You're right.
sure. Yes.
I mean, sure, whatever. On a bigger level, it's fine. But yeah,
Yeah, that's funny.
I just saw it
Because they
just
had to
now.
compare it to another Nintendo IP that
Yeah,
has
they have
cooldowns,
to.
okay?
They're
It's the
they're forced
brand.
to.
Does
Uh-huh.
Fire Emblem count when your weapons?
The weapon durability.
Okay, Pokemon is like Fire Emblem
Yeah.
and Xenoblade.
This takes place so I think they've talked about this. It takes place like entirely in Lumio City. Am I right?
Yeah,
Right,
that was
Yes.
basically the very first thing they announced about it, even if
Yeah.
they didn't really show it. Like the whole game supposedly is just in the city, which is a cool concept. Considering
And
Pokemon,
I
you're
kinda-
usually trotting the world.
So
or
when I
the
was looking
region.
at that, when I saw this like trailer, like in passing, it reminded me a little bit like it looked like you're like unlocking districts to traverse them. It kind of reminded me of East 9. And I was
Pokemon is
am
like Xenoblade. It's like
am I-
Fire Emblem.
am I-
It's like East 9.
I'm gonna say something though. If you're using that East 9 comparison, what they've shown already looks a lot more visually appealing than anything in East 9.
I mean, yeah, but I'm just thinking of like unlocking districts, but it all takes place in the same city. Then they're like, in recent memory, that's what it reminds me of is East
Recent
9.
memory, East 9 came out in Japan almost 6 years ago.
That's not that
well,
recent,
bad.
James.
That's fun. But that's me. I said recent memory, so
That
that's
makes
me.
it sound old. Oh god.
That's recent.
It
to
is
me.
old. East 9 is an old video game. East 8
I'm
is older.
old.
You're all going to die.
Look,
And
no matter how pretty you say this game is, do you think it'll run like ass? Like,
well, supposedly,
Switch 2 will
maybe
save
the
us.
Switch 2. Yeah, maybe Switch 2 will save us. We don't know.
Switch to diff, but also like they completely skipped Pokemon release last year. And unlike with Legends Arceus, where it's like, okay, we're kind of having it be a buffer. This time it's actually a buffer because it's not coming out early this year. It's coming out late this year, which means that there was a full 2 years between the Scarlet and Violet DLC and when this is releasing, which means they've had time to polish it. Please run well.
Now it sounds like a little bit copium. And then he says
It
things
looks
like
a
that.
bit promising, though, I'd say.
Yeah.
Like, maybe it's just because Arceus is my favorite Pokemon, because I don't
Oh yeah,
care.
100%. Like
At
Arceus is my
all.
favorite Pokemon, and this looks really promising. And if the Legends like style is going to always be, let's get a little funky with it. Let's do something completely different that's still a Pokemon game, but has like it isn't like holding itself to the same like conventions necessarily. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I was hoping like ZA to be. I wasn't even hoping it to be carbon copy of Arceus. The fact that it's trying to be different and trying to be something else is like, yes, thank you. More of this. I cannot wait.
The other things, go for
oh,
it.
I
Go
was
for
gonna say, I'm someone who doesn't care about competitive Pokemon like at all. I play Pokemon games to like hang out. And I always it's why I've kind of also struggled to like finish them in recent years. Like because it's just like it all becomes about like, the battles, and I think the Pokemon battle system is just fine. But like the way this Legends like spin-off series seems to be like focusing on just like mixing things up and throwing new things into the mix to spice up the battle system. Like I'm all for this. The fact that you were like in some of the either screenshots or like a trailer, you were doing a battle on a roof. I'm like, it would be really funny if somehow you could either knock a Pokemon off the roof or just like fall off yourself.
Yeah. That'd be brutal. Now that you mentioned the roof, like I remember rooftop traversal from the trailer. I remember there's like teleport pads to go from the ground to the roof immediately. I was like, that's weird. So there's not really like parkouring or climbing. It's just like you just teleport up there. Okay. There's gonna be mega evolutions in this game.
Yeah. We haven't seen any new ones yet, but we know that there will probably be new Mega Evolutions for the starters that they've chosen. And so the starter Pokemon, just like with Legends Arceus, they're getting funky with it. There's Chikorita, Tepig, and Totodile.
Yeah.
Cyndaquil is stuck in Hisui because Cyndaquil got its evolution back there. So obviously they had to... That does make me wonder if that means that the next Legends game, if we're going to get the rest of the if we're gonna get Snivy, because that would be the last Gen 5 starter they need, and then probably the 2 Gen 7 starters, because then that would be like filling out the rest of them. Because like there was Oshawott, Cyndaquil, and Rowlet, I think, for Hisui. So that would mean, yeah, that sounds right. But yeah.
how's the community like generally, like what's the current like climate or temperature in the Pokemon community this year? Like, because all I know, the only thing that I saw that people are making fun of, I don't know if people are making fun of, but they pointed it out. It was like there were benches in this game that have like the little bars on them, so like like in the real world, that like to discourage us sleeping on them for homeless people, basically, like the unfriendly benches to homeless people.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in general, I don't know what else people are talking about with this game.
I'm not fully clued in on the Pokemon community, but as far as I can tell, like Legends Arceus was really well beloved. It's probably the most well loved Switch game. So I think that people are pretty excited for Legends EA, not just for the fact that it's another Legends game. It's had a full 2 years like between the DLC for Scarlet and Violet and this. So people are generally pretty like hopeful that it's going to run well. It's going to be a fully completed game. And honestly, from what we saw, it seemed like it ran decently in the trailer at least, but that's not saying much.
I've heard
Another
it's
thing
the Totodile sweep.
Yeah. The other thing that I think a lot of people are excited for is that this is a sequel to Pokemon X and Y. Like straight up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah. So X and Y was one of those, was like Generation 6, I think, is the one Pokemon generation above everything else that people have always said it deserved far, far better. It deserved to have like a third game or like an XZ, YZ, or whatever, because there was potential there. There was interesting things they could have done with the story. There was interesting things they could have done with the lore of the legendary Pokemon. But because it was the first 3D game, you could kind of feel that playing through it. And there was a lot of like even event Pokemon that just never released. There was a lot of events that just never released in X and Y. Like, but we're even already starting to see in the trailer that it is a follow up, because you have AZ and you have his Floette. They're right there, which is they're not on speaking terms until after X and Y. So
Hmm.
and it's
Also,
futuristic. So yeah.
As someone just, not super in tuned with the Pokemon community, but still sees them post, people found the new Hex Maniac.
Oh yes.
All
I
I
don't know.
can say is I think the new design is cute.
Yeah. Yeah. It is
And
cute.
there's so much fan art already, and that's all I'm gonna leave with that.
Yeah.
This character breaks people's brains.
Okay. Anything else about this Pokemon Z? I always want to call it AZ, but ZA. I don't know why I want to call it AZ, because I don't really know. I don't know what to expect. I liked Legends Arceus, but I didn't get to play much of it. It was like, I remember someone saying, does this mean that the protagonist of Arceus is just stuck in that era forever? And
Yes.
just until
Yep.
okay.
Yeah, the implication is that fucking like the MC of Diamond and Pearl is probably their own like great grandparent.
Holy crap! Damn, the Pokemon lore runs deep.
It's so weird that they never made any like DLC to at least be like, and this is how you go home. It's just like, no, you're stuck there forever.
I do like the little like tidbit that's kind of implied that because of how Legends ZA, no, sorry, not Legends ZA, Legends Arceus ends, it's kind of like makes it canon that the main character of Diamond and Pearl goes back in time, and then because of what they do back in time, that creates the Platinum universe.
Arceus is a cool ass game.
Yeah.
I feel like we're getting to like here's the chronology of Pokemon charts.
Oh well, if
Here's
we're
the
talking
Zelda
about well, if
timeline.
we're talking about that, it's heavily implied that the main characters for Legends EA are just like older versions of the Gold and Silver protagonists, or like descendants of them.
What?
Yeah.
No.
If you look at their designs, there's just straight up especially the girl. It's just straight up Lyra from Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Look at the hat.
Jesus.
I heard people speculate that this was also like the brother or sister of the original protagonist after like Sycamore fucked her mom.
God.
Okay, since we're on this weird tangent anyways, I saw a discussion about the show House MD the other day,
Uh-huh.
and there's a reference to Arceus in there.
What?
Yes.
Okay.
Pokemon lore
Sure.
goes deep.
God. What were we talking about again? Yeah, this game, Pokemon Legends ZA, coming out on Switch and supposedly maybe, who knows, Switch 2, late 2025. Up next, we have a new announcement. A game called Edge of Memories was announced for PS5, Xbox Series, and PC from developer Midgar Studio and publisher Nacon. There's a follow up to a game called Edge of Eternity that released some time ago from Midgar Studio, and now there's this new game's being built on Unreal Engine 5. Supposedly, they're saying it's going to offer more dynamic gameplay. They have a reveal trailer that shows, the story setup and some of like the in-game graphics and all that stuff. So I don't know much about Edge of Eternity. I remember it was like in early access for quite a while, and
It's
then it released.
franime.
It's what?
Franime. The French love
What's
their anime in Japanese.
Oh,
It's a French game.
I do have the game actually, but I didn't really touch through it. I just know that it got constant updates, including a Japanese voiceover update. So it just kind of tells you what it is. Was it
Mhm.
the other thing I do know is like they got the Xenoblade composer.
They have a character. They have Raita Kazama, the character designer from Xenoblade Chronicles. They have Sawako Natori, wrote on Nier. Emmy Evans, also from Nier as well. And then they have Yasunori Mitsuda, and Mariam. I'm sorry if I butchered this last name. Mariam Abu Nasir. I think that's. So I really apologize if I butchered the pronunciation on that. So
The
they
only
do
thing
have
I
fun.
know about Edge of Eternity, which was their previous game, is that
Mhm.
I don't remember the specific context of it, but there's the protagonist throws out a "your mom" joke in there somewhere.
Okay.
I don't know when Josh brought up all those names, all I can think of is we're getting Furyu'd again. That's all.
Ooh, man.
Mm.
Dang. We're getting. God, that should be the episode. We're getting
Yeah,
food
but I
again.
think that's a reception from people. It's like it feels like it's like there's potential in here, but it feels kind of low budget in a way and unfinished in certain place. But who knows? Maybe this one's a much better because they have experience making games now, right?
I have no idea because I have no opinion because I've never tried out Edge of Eternity. I heard.
Edge of
I don't know. I
Eternity
didn't.
right now has like a 70% user rating on Steam. Just trying to get a broad overview.
Yeah.
Do people like this? And it's like seems like sort of mixed. Some people probably like it. I don't know.
There's some cool screenshots here though. There's one where there's like a lot of eyes on it. There's like a big ass eyeball on a door, and some creature has a big ass eyeball for a waist. A lot of eyeballs in that picture. But yeah, I mean, it's coming out sometime this year for modern platforms, and we'll see more as we get closer to release. But they say that real time combat. They'll have you know combo system. There's like a berserk power in it. Everyone loves berserk. Next up, we have another RPG announcement. Action RPG: The Lonesome Guild is coming out this fall for PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. This is from developer Tiny Bull Studios and publisher Don't Nod. You play as a character named Ghost, who is a spirit, amnesiac spirit, in a world full of loneliness. So, um, so you battle and exploration elements to it. There's like a lot of little critters inside this trailer that kind of look like a little like Pokemon. Since we're just talking about it. They don't really offer up much more details on that besides this reveal trailer and some screenshots. So Um, we'll probably follow up on it as they release more details. That is the Lonesome Guild for PS5, Xbox Series, and PC sometime this year. We also got the first official trailer for Fuga Melodies of Steel 3. And they've detailed, uh, all the things that people can expect at launch. There's some save data bonuses from Fuga 1 and 2. You do get some costumes for some of the characters if you have save data from the previous Fuga games. And then if you got in and you also get different bonuses depending on like if you got the normal ending, and then if you got the true ending in the Fuga 2, you get additional like music, um, and other stuff on those. So um, we talked about this previously when Fuga 3 was first revealed, but they're trying to make a better effort and like making more drastic different changes to this entry compared to Fuga 2, because when Fuga 2 released, a lot of the things that people express was like, hey, this is cool, but it feels too similar to the first game. So Fuga 3 is already shaping up to um, bring a lot more changes to that. Some of the new changes they detailed was a weakness combo system, multi-leader skills, and an assist system. Um, they were able to check this out, either Adam or James, on the new Fuga 3 stuff.
I know there's also supposed to be like some sort of like branching narrative paths.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to see how that works.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to see like with the trailer itself. Like you see little bits and pieces of it. It's definitely completely like I'm curious how long this is gonna be. I think they said something along the lines that this is gonna be as long as 1 and 2 combined, which would make it around like 40 hours for most people, I'd say. It looks cool. The story looks like it's going places. Do not watch that trailer if you haven't played Fuga 1 and 2. I've heard that it connects to like seems like it's connecting to Dot Hack a bit now, so maybe I should get back to the GU quadrilogy and actually finish that.
It's connecting to Dot Hack. Wait, I didn't actually like. What's going on?
Apparently, like some like other people that have played Dot Hack in addition to Little Tail Bronx has said that there's like some terms brought up in the trailer that heavily suggest that it's tying into Dot Hack now.
Like, I, I guess I have to really play
I'm
this
sorry.
thing.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
CyberConnect 2 can't do this to me. What the hell? That's that hurts my brain thinking about it. Okay, no, CyberConnect 2, you're not allowed to do this. They also just recently revealed like the release date for the Demon Slayer Hinokami Chronicles 2 fighting game that they're working on as well. That's like early August or something. There's another new trailer that they released for the upcoming Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. It's a basically an overview trailer about 6.5 minutes long, showing off more of the visual enhancements, some of the gameplay additions, and
We obviously talked a lot about this last week. The part that I couldn't talk about because it's literally not set up yet, and I don't the online stuff.
right.
And I couldn't talk about this even if I wanted to because I don't have Nintendo Switch Online and I don't plan on getting it. But so in the original game, there were a couple of like kind of loose ad hoc online features where, first of all, there was like these time trial modes that I think you could like have some sort of online like leaderboard type connectivity where you like fought certain battles and there's like a time limit and you can get rewards. It was like refighting some of the bosses, things like that. Then you could also like hire up someone else's avatar and put them in your party. Like
Forgot about that.
Yeah, I actually forgot about that too. I saw that in the new version. I'm like, could you do this in the original version? And the answer is yes, it was there. I just never did it. And there was also like the whole division system where you had like people of different divisions earning points and you could get like rewards that way. That's kind of different. I mentioned that that's kind of gone now. Anyways, there's now a new type of like online time trial battle mode thing that you can do where you team up with other players. I don't know if you're actually all playing in real time to fight enemies. Again, I don't know. I can't actually test this or play this, but There's some sort of new online like mission mode.
Yeah, and then there's also like I don't remember if you can set up private lobbies in the Wii U
No,
game.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's been so long once again, but I don't remember because I remember playing with your friends in the original being like a little bit of pain in the ass, but I forgot the specifics
Yeah.
on that.
And like I said,
But then,
unfortunately, this isn't set up yet on the review copies. So
yeah, and they had like a whole new interface that they showed off in the overview trailer. So we're just going off of like what the overview trailer has shown because this is the only time people have been able to like see this online for the first time really for the definitive
it
edition.
sure looks like you're all playing together, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, and then obviously we won't talk about, but obviously like around the end of the trailer, there's a lot more big like story teasers of like the new story content in the game.
Mhm.
So if you want to go in blind, don't watch that stuff because they kind of give you a very like brief teaser of the setup of the new content, story content. in that
Can I
game.
just tease one very, very, very small thing? And it's not
Sure,
even a
yeah.
tease. People have already kind of picked up on this.
Mhm.
In the original game, and also in like the original game's like kind of like extra materials, there were references to Elma having a partner at one point. And like he never existed in the original game, but like basically they took this idea that was kind of always there and sort of basically revisited it. So
Okay. Interesting.
So I've seen people talking about this where people are like, oh, I assume one of the new characters is this partner that was sort of like kind of there but scrapped. Anyways, my point, not to say too much more than that, but like they took this idea that apparently is not brand new, but they revisited it. So yeah.
Well, we'll get to see what that's all about as this game comes out on March 20th worldwide simultaneously for the Switch. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot got some new content. It got a new DLC pack called Daima Adventure Through the Demon Realm, and this coincides with I believe, the finale of the new
Yes.
Dragon Ball Z
Yeah,
Daima.
I just watched it last night. It
Yeah.
has a troll type ending.
First thing I heard about Dragon Ball Daima when it ended, the anime, was something along the lines of, well, there goes the continuity. Like, people are trying to figure out how the continuity
Well,
works
no,
here.
They just doesn't give a shit at this
Yeah.
point. There's like power ups that comes out of nowhere. It's just like no one cares at this point.
People are
But
trying. I have not seen Daima. I have seen Super, but people are trying to figure out like, does Daima fit in between Z and before Super? And I guess the answer now is not really. So
Yeah, I remember like some people are like, this is very much in the spirit of Toriyama, and he would like definitely do this because he's very much like a gag writer almost. Or like he's the way he does like early Dragon Ball stuff. He's very much he doesn't really think about like continuity, all that stuff. It's like whatever seems fun, he'll do it. So like people have also been speculating whether like the finale of Daima. It's been like almost like a year or maybe a year since like the unfortunate passing of Toriyama, and whether that was just coincidence or they intentionally lined it up or whatever. That's neither here or there. But
anyways, this DLC pack is $35.
wow, yeah.
But it has 3 separate parts, so
Is it
maybe...
3? I was
Is it
looking
2
up.
or 3?
I was
it's
expecting
2.
this to be like, I was expecting this to be like $10 or something like that. I don't know. But 35. I was actually looking it up. So the game has already had 2 season passes, and they're each like 3 parts each. The first season pass is $25. The second season pass is $40. This is, I guess, effectively now the third season pass, I guess. So it's $35. So just with season passes alone, you're paying $100. That's not even including the game.
So this is like
Dragon Ball games and getting literal decades of DLC. Name a more iconic duo. Like, isn't Xenoverse 2 still getting DLC?
Yes.
It's getting Daima DLC.
The year is 2050. Xenoverse 2 has gotten its final DLC pack. Then they announced a new season pass.
Yeah, the incredible support for Xenoverse 2 and now Kakarot here. And they're saying like, yeah, there's a 2-part DLC. The first part comes out in summer 2025. The second part has yet to be dated. And there's like another like a bonus pack along with it, but it's positioned as a like a whole 2-part adventure, uh, taking people through the events of Daima effectively. So hey, if you enjoyed Dragon Ball Z Kakarot and can't wait to play more Kakarot, there you go. You have a lot more content to look forward to. I guess I forgot like when was the last time you reported sales numbers on this game, but it must have done like a crazy amount to continue getting this amount of support still.
Last year, 8 million. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
Oh,
one I remember. Also,
crazy.
one more thing about the DLC. I saw like the official press release just said TBA for the second pack, but I think the PlayStation Store and Steam Store say it'll be out between Jan or like I think in
A
the
year from now.
first quarter of the next year. Yeah. So
Mm.
I don't know what the deal is, but yeah, they had the release window for the first DLC pack, but not the second one, but that was listed on the store pages. So I just went with that. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, Kakarot getting a ton of DLC. It's probably gonna like get a Switch 2 version, like how Xenoverse 2 got a Switch 1 version. That'll probably also get a Switch 2 version. That game has gotten like PS3, PS4, and PS5 versions now. So yeah.
Crazy legs on this game. I never would have thought too. Next up, we have an update on Assassin's Creed Shadows. No, not the update that it's already leaked out there, unfortunately, because that did happen. But they Ubisoft detailed the progression loop of Assassin's Creed Shadows as in a new system overview. They went through like the mastery system, the abilities, the knowledge
Yeah,
rings.
so earlier today, I posted the March release dates for. I do this every month. Basically, here's the RPGs coming out this month. And I knew this was going to happen, but of course, people are like, Assassin's Creed is not an RPG, which, okay, fine. Everyone's got a different definition. But when you look at some of this progression stuff, there's skills and masteries and perks and talents. It's like, okay, yeah,
Afflictions,
it's close enough.
poison.
Right. So there's
Yeah.
stats, there's numbers. I know you can say like all games have skill trees now or whatever, but sure, these games like we didn't cover Mirage. Was that last year or the year before? I forget. We didn't cover Mirage.
Year before. It was
And-
2023, I think.
Yeah, and we cover these like the games in the sub series, if you will, that are like more the RPG slant. Because yeah, it's close enough. And
Origins.
this video kind of goes
Valhalla.
over it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, this is saying, hey, that this is part of the RPG lineage that was part of like Origins of Valhalla. There was another
Odyssey.
one I'm forgetting. Odyssey. Yeah.
hmm
So yeah, I mean, best of luck to this game. They're gonna. It's in the crowded window. You always mention it, but I want it to be good. I like samurai games.
It comes out the
And-
same day as Xenoblade.
Yeah, but I
and
also like
basically the
the
same
big
day
ass
as
robots.
Atelier. So
Mhm.
I actually want to play this one. It looks like really cool.
Yeah.
So we will see if I have time.
Next up, we have some release dates. We have the sequel to Dark Deity, with Dark Deity 2 launching on March 24th for PC. This was, I believe, a strategy RPG.
I
And
believe it's like a Fire Emblem clone.
yeah, the
Yeah.
original game was
yeah.
like GBA Fire Emblem.
Yeah. And this one seems to continue to follow up on that. Very much its presentation wise, like when units are facing off against one another on a 2D plane, left to right, with the little pips as the life bars going
Now,
down.
the interesting thing, I did not play the original Dark Deity. First of all, slight tangent, Jess Reyes was actually going to review that for us, but then ran into like a game-breaking bug and couldn't finish it, so like, no review. Anyways, the thing about this one that seems to be kind of its hook, I guess, is it has like kind of randomizer type elements just baked in, so you can adjust like recruitment order and stats and numbers and various other things.
Oh, okay.
And they kind of
Like
advertise
manually tweak
like you can make your playthrough your own.
Oh, okay.
So I don't
Interesting.
know exactly how that manifests, but that's kind of what they're promoting.
All right. So yeah, so that's coming up pretty damn soon. It's the end. I keep on looking at the day. It's like, yeah, it's at the end of the month now because it's the 1st of March. Ah. Um. So that's Dark Deity 2, and then we have an interesting one here, written up by Kite. Farland Saga 1 and 2 Saturn Tribute is releasing on PS5, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC via Steam on June 26th in Japan. Chow, have you played Farland Saga?
So basically Farland Saga used to be on PC, like really old school PC, like PC 98 games. They're not super popular in Japan. They're actually super popular in Korea.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
It's like there is like translation patches of like in Korean for these games. Like I think there's like more source material that you can find in Korean than in Japanese for this franchise, which
Oh,
is kind of weird, right?
okay. Yeah.
But the thing is, these are the first two games, right? And they're like the remakes, which is the Saturn versions, right?
Mhm.
And the Saturn version also went through several changes. Like they renamed the main characters, right? Like in the original games, you play as a guy named Ark, and then when you play the remake, it's like Ark has been renamed. Now he's not Ark anymore. He's Leon now. And then the second game, uh, like the direct sequel, it's like it has Ark again, right? But in the
Oh,
remake, it's a complete separate character. Like it's a very bizarre changes like what they do.
weird.
And then it's like, what is it? Like they're like really simple RPGs. It has like a lot of Fire Emblem kind of style to it. Like the storyline in the first game, you're basically you're just strolling with your knight friend, and then there's a princess who's about being kidnapped and attacked by this other kingdom or something, or demon kingdom or something, and then you try to go and rescue her. It's like it feels really Fire Emblem-ish, right?
It's like, but like the presentation, like isometric,
Yeah,
is it strategy RPG-ish or
yes, yeah,
what?
yeah. It's a strategy RPG, right?
Okay, okay,
And they're all like that. I think there's like two games that are really hard to access for some reason, just because there's no Saturn or console ports of it. Which is like the fourth and I think it's like the third and fourth game. I think those are the one that didn't have like a PC port. And then the fifth game only has like a PC port only, and that is my introduction to it. Is the fifth game, but they call it like Farland Symphony or something like that.
okay.
And that was released in Taiwan from was it like I believe it's from. Yeah, it was in Taiwan. That's how I got introduced to the game, right? I played the fifth game. The fifth game has like no relationship to like the first couple games, so at least
And
that's my knowledge of it.
do the third and fourth game relate to the first and second game?
Yeah, I believe it does.
Okay,
It's just
okay.
like the fifth game has like nothing. It's like completely standalone, right? It has like this story where like these two twins like sealed some demon god and they get separated at birth and they got like different childhood friends and somehow their childhood friend ends up with the other twin,
Okay, all right.
It's like how the story goes, right? Like the other twin is like the main bad guy, then later on they learn their origins. It's like it's like stuff like that, right? Anyways,
A
that's
little bit whimsical, but okay, I can dig
but
it.
but yeah. Anyways, that's my knowledge of the Farland. Like
Yeah, so some of the updated new features they're saying with this new Saturn Tribute re-release is the always on status display, so you always know the status of your allies. Reline and quick save and load. And then if you can also boost
also the
the amount of
second
experience
game
that you
has
have.
also the second game. You'll always remember the second game for a reason because the introduction cutscene has a French chef swearing fuck in the first couple seconds.
That's
And I'm not
awesome.
sure they cut that out because in the first scene, like somebody was trying to mug like this bakery, trying to get like steal some bread and run out, and the chef comes out and says "fuck" how dare you, basically, right?
Okay,
I'm not sure if that will get cut out, but that's why I
hopefully
always remember the
not.
second game.
That seems to be an iconic scene. Um, I learned a lot about this series. But unfortunately, once again, this is going to be only be released in Japanese. Like all the menus and in-game tags, there's no current plans to release this in English whatsoever. It seems like a really interesting game, based on how Chow described them. But maybe there'll be fan translations or patches. I don't know if it ever got a fan translation. Do you know,
There's
Chow?
fan translation for the fifth game, which
Oh,
is Farland Symphony. There's an English patch out there, and you can
okay.
probably look it up. It
Mhm.
exists.
Yeah. So that's June 26th in Japan for those re-releases. And that marks the conclusion of this Tetracast episode filled with wilds, some Pokemon lore, and your history lesson on the Farland Saga game.
We did it.
You did, yeah. So thank you once again for joining me, everyone, on this podcast episode as I substitute for Brian, who will be back in 2 weeks, I believe. And yeah, any upcoming events? I know there's some Suikoden special program stream in 2 days as of the day of this
Yeah,
recording.
next week, the Suikoden remaster releases, and there's also a stream just before that, which is interesting. Like, are they just going to promote the game, or are they going to do something more surprising? I don't know. We'll see.
Mhm. Yeah. There's also gonna be another like a Nacon Connect event as well sometime next week, late next week. And the Tokyo Indie Game Summit. So might have some interesting things coming out of those events coming up. Um, thank you once again. I know you also had your release date calendar for March, and like you said, Suikoden is coming out soon. Are there any other notable releases?
Just based off of responses I'm seeing on Blue Sky and Twitter, a lot of people are excited for Xenoblade. A lot of people are excited for Atelier. Fair bit of people excited for AI Limit. AI Limit is the China Hero Project near Automata inspired. It kind of looks more Souls-ish action RPG flavor.
I played the demo for it.
Yeah.
It was pretty challenging. So
people
it has some
excited for
good-
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yep. So that. What's that? Go on.
That reminds me, Lost Soul Side's also coming out the end of May.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So you can find us over at rpgsite.net as our main website filled to the brim with Monster Hunter Wilds guides and all the latest news that's been coming out. You can find us at facebook.com/rpgsite.net. You can visit our YouTube, youtube.com/rpgsite.net for our podcast episodes. You can go listen to them there. We have a Blue Sky. You can find us Twitter/X. You can find us on your favorite podcast app. You can also find us on Discord, discord.gg/RPG site. And a lot of people are playing Monster Hunter Wilds there. People are talking about Grand Blue there. People are talking about everything. Come join us over there and enjoy the company of our lovely community. Other than that, we'll see you next time. Take care. Take it easy. Peace out.